around, even on a hot lap. But when you've got other cars around you and so close to you, you'll find people will dart left, right. And in the past, a couple of people have tried to go very, very far out to the right and then cut across the front of somebody. Those cars that are cutting across, the ones on the left-hand side of the track, the inside, will not necessarily be aware.
Well, that's the corner after the S that you can see on the map there, where the final speed trap figure is. The intermediate sector points up at the end of the next straight and after the twisty infield section. And 71 laps for the race here this afternoon. We're all set for another race of drama, no doubt. We certainly have had a couple of major incidents at the start of the last two races. Remember what happened to Ralf Schumacher, who went flying through the air in Australia, and then the contact between Michael Schumacher and Juan Pablo Montoya in the start of the Malaysian race. This first corner is difficult, and of course on the outside of the first corner now is this new extra grippy tarmac rather than a gravel trap. That might affect things a little bit.
Well, one thing's for sure, if somebody does get squeezed out to the right, as long as they don't spin or make contact with anything solid, they will be able to continue. They may lose about 6-7 places, but nonetheless, that's one of the advantages of that new high grip tarmac.
So Montoya on pole, alongside him Michael Schumacher, the 3-times winner here, then Ralf, his third front row start of the year, and David Coulthard, last year's winner. Then it's Kimi Raikkonen and Jarno Trulli. Jenson Button starting 7th ahead of Barrichello in 8th, Nick Heidfeld in 9th, and Mika Salo in the Toyota in 10th again, second race in a row. De La Rosa starting in 11th place, just ahead of Felipe Massa, the Brazilian, starting in 12th. Then it's Irvine in the second Jag, Fisichella in the first of the Jordans, and the Honda-powered cars really not performing that well. Down in 15th for Villeneuve as well, and 17th for Panis. McNish starting in 16th place. Frentzen a long way down on Bridgestone tyres that didn't seem to come in too well for him. He starts 18th, Takuma Sato 19th, and then Mark Webber, quite pleased in fact to have got himself ahead of the second Arrows car with his Minardi.
Well, once again, a lot of work going on in the Ferrari, just alongside Williams on the outside, of course. That's the racing line into turn one. A lot of activity. I'm not quite sure what they're all diving. They look like they're diving into the cockpit, whether Michael's just laid in and they're just getting the seat belts attached. It takes probably 2 people to do it in a rush. Certainly the driver, all he can do is sit there and just allow the mechanics to attach the crutch strap, the lap belts, and of course the shoulder harness.
So now we are into the closing countdown to the start of the formation lap, and you can just feel the pulse quicken a little bit, not only in the cars and down on the grid, but also amongst the fans watching in these beautiful conditions, ready for the start of the Brazilian Grand Prix. Wait for the klaxon. We have just a minute to go now to the formation lap. So the grid must now be cleared, engines fired up, and the mechanics have a few seconds in which to make sure the cars are running. Brand new Bridgestone tyres on the front there for Michael, and indeed on the rear as well. And remember, he saved at least one set of tyres yesterday from qualifying.
Yes, Ferrari realised that they weren't seriously going to be able to take pole away. They tried very, very hard, but they sacrificed that last run to ensure that Michael Schumacher had a brand new, or an additional set of tyres, but particularly brand new tyres for this afternoon's 71 lap Grand Prix.
Mechanics have all cleared the grid, so engines are all fired up safely on the 22 cars that are set to start here this afternoon. The breeze is gentle, but it shouldn't affect things down there on the grid, where the temperature is rising in the cockpit and the pulse is beginning to race. They're setting off on their formation lap now, and let's just see them get away cleanly. Hopefully we don't have any problems getting away. The launch control as a practice start for everybody. A little bit of tyre smoke, but nothing like the old days where we used to see great black lines laid down at the start of the formation lap.
Well, in fact, black lines will have been laid down because they're not really using their launch control at this point. They'll save that for the start formally, but they put a bit of rubber down, which of course does aid traction when they do come onto the grid, and that launch control is activated.
Montoya then leads them round. Michael Schumacher just following him at this stage. Get a little bit of heat into the tyres, and look at those grandstands. They are cram-packed here today as they wait to see whether Ferrari will come back at Williams. Ferrari won the first race of the year in Australia. Williams took the win last time out, courtesy of Ralf Schumacher. It's one apiece. Is it going to be here today? Will Ferrari show that brand new car to be the match, or even better than the Williams, on a track that should suit Williams BMW down to the ground?
Well, the outcome of this Grand Prix, I hope, will not be decided in the first corner. We have seen too many incidents in the first two Grand Prix this year. Let's hope that the Grand Prix is a clean start, a first lap, no problem, and then we have a proper Grand Prix, a race between Montoya, the two Schumachers, David Coulthard, Kimi Raikkonen, and maybe even Rubens Barrichello, though I suspect that Barrichello is not going to come into the frame until very much later in the race. But do not discount the potential of Jarno Trulli or Jenson Button in the two Renaults. They're not there because of luck, they're there because they've done a very good job and are there on merit.
Juan Pablo Montoya's father watching proceedings. He's always around, watching his son. He raced himself in karts. He knows some of what's involved, but at this level, of course, it's somewhat different. But he lets his son get on with it. Juan Pablo Montoya, very much his own man. As we all know, in Formula One, he's come onto the scene. He's only been here just over a year, but everybody recognises the true talent that he has. But Michael Schumacher, the supreme, the 4 times world champion, will be starting alongside him. He drives under the auspices of this man, Ross Brawn, the master tactician. Now, can they find a way of beating Williams BMW here today? Renault looking strong. Flavio Briatore, the team boss at Renault. When Renault ran their own team in the late 70s, early 80s, they were twice winners in Brazil. I wonder if they can come to the fore today. Unlikely, unless we have problems for Williams and Ferrari, but reliability is always an issue at this track. 22 cars getting into position for the start of the race here in Brazil. The tension mounts both in the pit garage and on the track itself. You can see the uphill climb to the first corner. Can they get through that first corner safely today? The last couple of cars move into position. The starting light sequence begins. We wait for the start. And it's blast off in Brazil as Montoya now shuts the door on Michael Schumacher, doing what Schumacher normally does, but he hasn't quite shut the door completely. He still gets in front, but he goes wide. Montoya stays on track, side by side, almost contact. They're at it again, these two, and it's Michael Schumacher with the advantage, just ahead of Juan Pablo Montoya.
Cracking start. Michael Schumacher, now Ralf Schumacher's got the, nearly, Montoya blocks and Ralf Schumacher's wing has been knocked off.
It's Montoya's wing. That was Michael blocking Montoya. And he's taken the front wing off the Williams. Trying to listen up.
Copy that, we're ready with you with a front wing and tyres.
Well, last time out it was Michael's front wing
56.
that went this time.
56 for the front wing, please. Set 56 front wing.
This time it is on the Williams, and it's Michael getting away. It's Ralf Schumacher in second place, with Jarno Trulli and Jenson Button both getting away well at the start, but Williams with the work to do, and there is the front wing off Montoya's car.
Well, what a start. We thought we'd get through the first corner. That was all right. So all of a sudden down into turn 4, that's where the action occurred. And it was this time Michael Schumacher who put a very stern block on Montoya as he got under the braking into turn 4. The result was the wing on Montoya's car is somewhere in the grass.
30 seconds, Carl.
Wow, what a shame that it's come to that straight away on the first lap. They got through the first corner safely this time, but these two are going to be hammer and tongs all year. Did somebody go off there? Well, there was a lot of smoke, and look at this, a bit of a move going on. Barrichello here from Kimi Raikkonen, but it didn't quite come off.
Well, so much for me, and Barrichello starting on a full load of fuel. He wouldn't pull out and pass like that up the hill if you're carrying over 150 kilograms of fuel. Bits of carbon fibre on the racing line. That's going to be a problem. Montoya comes in now. Jordan coming in as well.
What has he picked up on the roll hoop there? He's picked up some sort of bunting.
He's been off the track, I think, because he has got no front downforce. That was Fisichella coming in, McNish also. So 3 cars, Fisichella, McNish and Montoya. Now, is that a consequence of Montoya trying to keep out of the way, or people trying to crawl over the top of him?
A lot of work. Wait and listen on the radio. A lot of work going on.
Clear one.
Clear the side pods.
White line on the exit.
10-4, that's amazing. No, it is completely amazing.
And he's mystified. Look, take a look. What a great view we'll have here. Move to the inside, and Michael just blocks the access down the inside, and that took off the front wing.
But the question is, did Michael make more than one move? He went down the left of the track. He then came back to the right, which is where Montoya was going. Montoya's allowed to do that, but Michael, in theory, is not allowed to do that.
Well, I'm sure Michael will argue that he only made the one move to the left, but the timing of that move, that was the key thing. It was as Montoya had a run on him.
Yes, but he moved to the left, but then he moved back to the middle of the track, and that's where the contact took place. It was not on the left of the track, it was in the middle of the track, and therefore that constitutes a second move by Michael Schumacher.
Well, the stewards will be reviewing it, and remember, if he is deemed to have caused an accident, then he could be put 10 places further back on the grid next time out. They can use video evidence, they can analyse it after the race, and here comes Barrichello on the charge, trying to get past Jenson Button now.
I mean, he must have an oily rag in the fuel tank. The progress that Rubens Barrichello has made, 8th in the grid, now up to 5th, and you can see the speed of the Ferrari against that of the Renault ahead of him. Barrichello pushing Button as hard as anybody.
Yeah, and Button got very out of shape just a moment ago. He managed to gather it all together. Michael Schumacher leads here in Brazil after another dramatic opening lap. Ralf Schumacher, his brother, is in second place. Jarno Trulli in third for Renault. Button in fourth, and we ride on board with the man in fifth place. That is Rubens Barrichello. Coulthard behind him, Raikkonen in seventh, Heidfeld eighth, then it's Massa ninth, and Irvine 10th.
But watch for the pass as Barrichello comes up behind Button. They come through this final curve onto the pit straight. He's got the run, he's got the slipstream, he's coming up alongside. Can he do him under brakes? Button will brake late. Barrichello, no, he's not going to do it. Is he going to sneak down? Jenson, now you gave that one up easy, I do have to say.
Well, he did a bit at the end there, but look at the fans, they love it because their man's on a charge. But as you say, John, the likelihood is they're running that Ferrari relatively light because he seems to have great pace.
Looking good, balance looks good.
In these early laps. And it sounded like Jenson on the radio then. We'll find out, no doubt, as he now pushes his teammate. Let's take another look at the start of the race. Wasn't a great getaway from Montoya, but he then tried to do the chopping job on Michael. Didn't chop as aggressively, perhaps, as Michael tends to.
No, and Michael just about when he thought, no, I'm not going to make it. Then Montoya runs wide in turn one, gives Michael the opportunity to cut back, puts Montoya under pressure side by side. Here's the view from Michael Schumacher's car. Montoya to the right, he'll come across to the left. Not so severe as Michael did on Montoya in Malaysia. Michael goes up the inside, locks a brake, dirty part of the track. Montoya's got all the racetrack, but just too quick, hasn't got the grip. Now it's Michael, he's got the momentum. Again, side by side, they go through Curva de Sol. Montoya backs out, he's on the dirty part of the track, and all of a sudden, Michael Schumacher's in the lead.
Yes, and then, of course, Montoya with the BMW horsepower managed to get the draft on him and tried to overtake, and that was when contact was made. He's back on track again now, and he's running in 20th position.
David Coulthard, well, maybe we've got this one right. Maybe McLaren are running a lot of fuel. Maybe they're going to go, as they did in Malaysia, deep into this race before they come in for a single pit stop. They're falling back, but Barrichello is the man on the move up to third place. He's got the two Renaults of Trulli and Button behind him, and then it's Coulthard and Raikkonen.
Yes, indeed. Michael Schumacher, last lap, 1 minute 17.263 compared to a 1 minute 18.0 for Ralf. Little battle going on here between the two Jags, and they're right behind Mika Salo. De La Rosa in there, and Eddie Irvine. In fact, Irvine's just been passed by Mika Salo.
Well, I said this, look behind the two arrows, one of the BARs, two Jaguars and a Jordan. This was the part of the field where we're going to see probably some of the best racing. 7 cars covered by 0.7 of a second.
It's great stuff, isn't it? Really good to see. And oh, look at this, the two arrows trying to put the move on Olivier Panis there by the looks of things in the BAR, as we're riding on board with Takuma Sato. He's at the back of this group in 17th place.
His teammate Giancarlo Fisichella got involved in the first lap tangle. It was with Alan McNish. We don't think that was involving Juan Pablo Montoya. That, I think, happened on the exit of turn 4. And there we see Barrichello now up into second place.
Yeah, Barrichello's up into second. It's Ferrari 1-2, and look at the fans. They're loving it. They're lapping it up as their man Rubinho goes into second position and chases now after teammate Michael Schumacher. The gap just under 5 seconds between them. Well, he certainly is flying at this point in the race. The Bridgestone tyres looking good, but you have to say he must be running this car relatively light, and for Ralf to let him through relatively easily. I think Ralf Schumacher must have started with a heavy fuel load in his car.
Michael Schumacher just running away from the field, 5 seconds now. That's in fact ahead of Rubens Barrichello. It was Ralf Schumacher as they came across the line the last time. But Barrichello now in second place. In fact, the gap probably extending more than 5 seconds. But the battle going on behind 4th, 5th and 6th between the two Renaults. and David Coulthard in the first of the two McLarens.
Battle between two Brits here, because we've got Jenson Button running in 5th place and David Coulthard in 6th. His teammate Kimi Raikkonen is nearly 2 seconds behind in 7th, and then Heidfeld in 8th. This was the pass, Barrichello versus Ralf Schumacher.
I have to say, I think Ralf Schumacher's got a lot of fuel on board to have the power and the Ferrari to do that. It wasn't just horsepower, that's got to do with weight.
Yeah, we know how strong the BMW engine is, so up the hill we would have expected him to be quick. Barrichello's just set the fastest lap of this race, 1:16.8. He's flying, he's much faster than teammate Michael Schumacher, but surely he has very little fuel in that car relative to the other machines out there.
And just look how quickly he's pulled away from Ralf Schumacher. Rubens Barrichello up into second place, 4.3 seconds. He's now taking probably 2, 3, 4 tenths of a second out of Michael Schumacher's lead. Barrichello clawing back to the front where he wanted to be after qualifying. He ended up 4th row of the grid, 8th quickest. There's a small compensation right now because no doubt he'll be into the pits. He will be the first of the lead cars, in my view, to stop for fuel.
Well, there's David Coulthard in the McLaren. 6th position for him at the moment. Let's ride on board with him for a second. Of the two cars you're looking at ahead of him are Jenson Button immediately ahead and Jarno Trulli, the car just ahead of that.
And both Renaults had a really good start, particularly Trulli. They managed to get ahead of Coulthard on the run up into turn 1. But Coulthard, for me, and Raikkonen, they're in for a long first run.
Well, here comes Michael Schumacher. He's completed 7 laps. Another quick lap there from Rubens Barrichello, and the gap between them's come down from 5 to 3.6 seconds. So Barrichello catching his teammate. Here come the two Renaults, Trulli, Button, and then David Coulthard, with Raikkonen a bit closer, and McNish, who is a lap down, remember. Well, he's right on the tail there, almost looking, trying to get past, and here comes the battle further back. Irvine here under pressure from Frentzen. Frentzen going down the inside into turn 1. Same engine power.
Go get him.
and Heinz being told to go get him. He's got past the Jaguar of Irvine.
And good racing. Irvine went to the limit in the corner. He did the right thing. He was firm but fair. He allowed Frentzen through. Oh, and a Jordan. And that, I think, is Fisichella.
Yeah, that's Giancarlo Fisichella, who has expired in a cloud of steam, it looked like, rather than smoke. And quite what...
The engine has failed in Fisichella's car.
So it looks like, well, engine-related problems, certainly by the way of that little thing smoking and steaming away. He has a quick look underneath. Let's take a look at when it went.
Just coming out on this is the infield part of the circuit, so he just pulls off very quickly. Couldn't have done any better. But again, further disappointment for Jordan. Eddie Jordan's birthday on Saturday is not bringing him any further luck this afternoon. So Fisichella's out. Takuma Sato is in 17th place. He's embroiled in a battle with Panis and Bernaldi, Frentzen and Irvine, Villeneuve, De La Rosa. Those 6 cars added, well, hammer and tongue.
And look at that, McNish right behind Raikkonen there. You can see the yellow blobs at the top of the screen. That indicates there is a yellow flag out there, but that's because of Fisichella's car having stopped at the side of the track. So it's not a full yellow everywhere, just a local yellow around Fisichella's car.
Looking back at this battle, De La Rosa, Villeneuve, and behind Villeneuve now Frentzen. Irvine dropping back a little bit. Frentzen now trying to use the momentum he built up. He got past Irvine relatively easily. Irvine fought for it but didn't sort of say, well, I'm not going to give you room.
No, that's right. Now let's take another look. This was another move that happened just a moment ago. This was Takuma Sato getting past Olivier Panis.
And no chance.
But he has a go, doesn't he?
Well, he's a goer. But I mean, he came, you could see the speed. In Panis ain't, and he sort of slouched in the brakes department. And Takuma Sato, he's braver than Dick Tracy. He was shot down the inside in the dirty part of track. You know, you're going to have to make your pass earlier, Takuma, if you want to get the job done into that part of circuit.
He is indeed. He's learning, though. He's learning this trade of Formula 1. He is a racer. We saw that in his Formula 3 campaigns. And he's having a good old go here again. We're looking at our race leader in super slow motion through the first couple of corners. He has an advantage of 2.4 seconds over his teammate Rubens Barrichello, who in turn is nearly 6 seconds ahead of Ralf Schumacher.
Those are fantastic pictures. The Bridgestone tyre doesn't have that oscillation we've seen from Michelin, particularly on the McLaren. The Villeneuve breaks down behind Pedro De La Rosa into turn 1. Quicker into the corner. De La Rosa then just seems to be, I don't know why. Oh, Jacques, we saw that oversteer in the morning warm-up. He's still got it. He's got a low downforce car. He's got a very nervy car aerodynamically. He should have a fairly quick car in a straight line. The trouble is he hasn't got the horsepower He's just trying to make the car quicker by reducing the downforce. But behind, Frentzen, he's the man who's on the move. Jacques Villeneuve, watch your mirrors. There's a big orange arrows coming behind you.
Yeah, there is, and Frentzen's been lapping quickly, as we saw. He got past Irvine. Now he's going to try and get past the Canadian in the BAR Honda. He is the top Honda runner at the moment, is Jacques Villeneuve, in 12th position, and just behind the Ford-powered Jaguar of Pedro de la Rosa. And of course, Frentzen wanting to home in on that Jaguar more than anything else. Same engines, and they want to prove that Arrows can beat Jaguar in the battle of David versus Goliath in terms of budget. Look at Villeneuve.
Again, you see, that's what happens. You take wing out of the car to get straight line speed. You end up with a car aerodynamically very unstable in those high-speed corners. They're back on with Rubens Barrichello. That little speck in the distance is this man, Michael Schumacher.
The gap just under 2 seconds, though. He's still closing. He's still faster than Schumacher. Schumacher running at a heavier fuel load, no doubt. Here we go.
Villeneuve tries to make a move on De La Rosa. He stays on the inside. Can Villeneuve go around the outside? De La Rosa's got the line. He's got the grip. Now watch for Frentzen. He's going to make a move. And Villeneuve on the exit of Curve de Sol. Watch the oversteer on the exit of the corner. Frentzen's the man who's going to try and take away the position that Villeneuve's in. That's P12.
Can he get the slipstream here? Frentzen trying to line himself up, but it looks as though he can't quite get there. So again, he has to settle in behind Villeneuve and look for another opportunity somewhere else. De La Rosa doing a fine job. He's not blocking. He's racing for position. That's perfectly fair. And he's in 11th place. Remember, they're about 2.5 seconds behind Mika Salo. Salo running in 10th.
Jenson Button coming under a little bit of attention and heat from David Coulthard. There's the Scot again down through this Mergulo corner. So careful now, don't brake late, David, you're over braking yourself. See, Button slows down earlier, but he gets on the power and can get the drive up the hill, and he extends the gap to David Coulthard and himself.
Coulthard in 6th place, and not used to having to sit behind a Renault or Benetton as it was, but these cars are showing so much better speed, almost bringing back the glory days of Benetton in the mid-90s, when Michael Schumacher took 2 wins here at the Interlagos circuit for the team. Now it's Renault. Now look at Villeneuve. Now he's got the inside line. Last time he tried the outside. Can he do it down the inside? Yes, I think he can. He's ahead as long as he can keep it tied into the corner. Good move that from Jacques Villeneuve.
A very courageous move. Villeneuve was fully committed. Pedro de la Rosa gave him the inside line. Now, he didn't have to do that, but I think he felt that ultimately Villeneuve is capable of lapping quicker at this point. Pedro de la Rosa, no doubt, has got a big load of fuel on board. Villeneuve probably less fuel, but also running a lot less downforce, and that's giving him the advantage at the second part of these 2 long straights.
Jenson Button still managing to fend off David Coulthard for the moment, and remember, the other McLaren of Kimi Raikkonen just behind in 7th place. So the 2 McLarens perhaps just getting a little bit held up by the Renault. It's a battle for position. There's nothing wrong for Button. It's his duty to try and stay in front. As you see, Barrichello that much closer to teammate Michael Schumacher. The gap has come down to 1.2 seconds.
Well, Michael Schumacher not going slowly. You saw a slight slide as the car exited out of turn 1, dropping down through the Senna S's. Now Rubens Barrichello closing down to 1.2 seconds on race leader Michael Schumacher. Coulthard's going to have a go down the inside. Has he got the momentum? Is he brave enough? Yes, he is.
Once again, Button didn't really fight for the position, and the McLaren goes ahead again. It may be different fuel loads as much as anything. Just a quick note that Montoya still in 20th place. His lap times 1 minute 17.752. Nothing particularly dramatic in terms of a lap time there, and he's still got some 25 seconds before he gets onto the back of the group with Bernoldi and Alex Young. So Montoya really does have some work to do, and it's not like Malaysia where they're picking off cars one by one every lap.
Well, the question mark is, will Ferrari allow the progress of Barrichello to continue at the rate it's doing? He's run down his teammate. We're on lap 13. How far will Barrichello go before he has to come into the pits?
Well, the question is, yes, how much lighter is the car? Michael might be quite happy to let Rubens past at this stage. Presumably Michael Schumacher's car running heavier and have the advantage later on. But you can see Michael's trying hard. He looked the left front there and still missed the apex of turn 1. And again, he's sliding around quite a lot, that car. And Michael's trying hard, but hasn't got the pace of this man. Here comes Rubens.
Rubens going to pass him down the straight. The crowd have gone absolutely ballistic.
Look at that. They really have gone wild now as Barrichello takes the lead. It's not the first time he's led at Interlagos, but can he keep it there, because he has such an awful finishing record around this track, and as we know, this car must be running very light in the early stages to be quite so fast.
Well, I would anticipate somewhere between lap let's say 18 and 24. That's a pretty wide window, but we don't know how much or little fuel Ferrari had put into Barrichello's car. Here's the pass, really very simple for Rubens. He's got a huge weight saving over Michael. He's got the momentum off the corner. Light fuel load gives you basically better grip, but also allows better acceleration. The engines are very similar, although they are actually different engines, but horsepower and drivability probably, well, a few small percentages of a difference.
Now, Coulthard has caught up to the other Renault, that of Jarno Trulli. So he's got the job to do once again, having fought his way past Jenson Button. Coulthard now runs in 5th place. The 4th place car of Jarno Trulli just ahead. And in fact, right here, we're running with Raikkonen, who's got the job of getting past Button. So we've got the two battles going on between Renault and McLaren. This one between Button and Raikkonen.
A little bit further down the field, we were watching the battle with Villeneuve, Frentzen and De La Rosa. De La Rosa's dropped down now. Also, Frentzen's managed to get past the Jaguar. So it's Villeneuve 11th, Frentzen 12th. 2.8 seconds between Villeneuve and Frentzen. Frentzen, of course, losing momentum in this process.
McNish just staying on the back of these two as well, so still putting in some quick laps, but unfortunately a long way down after having come into the pits at the beginning of the race. And just going around on this next lap, we can see Ralf Schumacher's beginning to lap a little faster. He's 9.4 seconds off the lead in the Williams BMW, but it's just put in a very quick first segment time.
Well, I think waiting for the Williams to burn off again the load of fuel that it is on. Ralf driving not too aggressively in these opening laps, waiting till that fuel load gets down to so the point he can then maximise the potential the Michelin tyre has. What we're seeing right now is domination from Bridgestone. The first time we've seen that really all through the weekend. But Ralf now beginning to realise, and the team telling him, OK, you can start to push. You're 9.4 seconds behind Barrichello, 7.9 seconds behind your brother Michael. Here comes Ralf.
Yes, indeed. Ralf Schumacher across the line. A 17.215. Barrichello is still the man who's really flying. That was a slightly quicker lap from Ralf than for Michael, though, on that previous lap. And Barrichello, with this light car, is going very quickly indeed. We're still some way off the lap record, but still, of course, the car relatively heavy at this stage of the race. Looking down the order, Trulli in 4th, Coulthard in 5th. Then Jenson Button 6th, Kimi Raikkonen in 7th, Nick Heidfeld 8th, ahead of Felipe Massa in 9th, Mika Salo running in 10th, ahead of Villeneuve, Frentzen still in 12th, and 13th place for De La Rosa, Irvine 14th. Oh, in fact, he's just been passed by Takuma Sato, so Irvine now down to 15th.
And well, I mean, imagine Takuma Sato, he's barely had a chance to pass somebody in a real race in a Grand Prix. He's found one space up to 14th place, Irvine. There's a battle going on all through the field with Sato, Irvine, Panis, Mark Webber that little bit further behind.
So great close-up view of McLaren versus Renault. Oof, using the curves a little bit. And you've got the view from the just behind that front wing. Jenson Button ahead. Kimi Raikkonen is the man we're riding on board with. And a great challenge between those two. Barrichello just slightly ahead, 2.8 seconds the advantage. Another new fastest lap from Rubens on that lap. Ralf Schumacher, again, quicker than his brother by 0.03 of a second. Very little to choose between them in terms of pace here, as Ralf tries to close the gap up on Michael Schumacher. So Michael just trying to control things there at the moment in 2nd place, as across the line go Trulli and Coulthard. Hasn't quite found a way past yet, but the McLaren looking threatening once more. Both of them having to work a little bit through that fast left-hander. Now building up to... Oh, and Barrichello in trouble. Oh, Rubens Barrichello. Is it going to be 8 non-finishes in a row here in Brazil? It looks very likely. And I'm not sure that isn't something in the rear suspension. You can see Barrichello's head looking in the mirror, I think trying to get a glimpse, and I suspect, I don't know, but I have a feeling that might be something in the rear suspension has let go, because Barrichello's pace suddenly stopped. There's certainly no mechanical signs of any engine problem. No, the suspension looks fine. So maybe it was just something that he is hydraulics or electronics. Those are the two likely areas for trouble for a modern Formula One car. Oh, what a great shame for the fans who've turned out in their thousands here today to support him. And it's gone wrong so early on in this race. We're only on the 17th lap, and Rubens hasn't finished a race yet this year. Of course, the crash took him out in Australia. Engine let go last time in Malaysia, and now something else has gone wrong. It shouldn't have worked out this way. He's in the 2001 car, John. This one's supposed to be reliable.
Yes, but sometimes, you know what they say, and for Rubens Barrichello, for the third time this year, it has happened. I think the blow-up, particularly in Malaysia, was a bitter pill. He was comfortably in the lead of the race, and all of a sudden, that engine let go.
Right, another battle going on as they cross the line, and, well, Barrichello just getting out of the car, as we can't express the disappointment he must feel. How can you have 8 non-finishes in a row here in Brazil in your home race, when Michael Schumacher has never had a non-finish? It just doesn't seem to be fair, but that's the way it goes sometimes.
Well, they're the team, they're just looking at the pictures, they're just saying, well, you can't get worse than that on Easter Sunday, can you, Rubens?
Great shame for him. Michael Schumacher, our race leader then. He was passed by Barrichello, although we did expect Barrichello to make an early stop, of course. 8 seconds the gap now. Oof, look at Michael. We saw him spin up there on our coverage on one of the free practice sessions. He almost did it again that time.
Look how hard Michael Schumacher is pushing. He knows he's got now his brother behind him. There was no cushion. Barrichello would inevitably, in his pit stops, fallen back behind, but he's now got his brother in the Williams there. As the Ferrari ends the straight, the Williams comes onto the straight, and they are concerned that Williams and Ralf Schumacher are a one-stop strategy. I don't believe that Michael Schumacher can get through this race on a one-stop strategy. I suspect he's on 2, but probably carrying more fuel than Barrichello, who was certainly very, very light at the start of this race.
But the important thing is, on that last lap, Ralf Schumacher put in a quick lap. He was 0.2 of a second faster than Michael Schumacher. We could see how hard Michael was trying by the way he got out of shape under brakes for the first corner. And there's no doubt that the Williams BMW is looking quicker. And again, a new fastest first sector time for Ralf Schumacher. He's closing on his brother.
And it looks very, very comfortable for Ralf Schumacher. None of the hard work. You can see that Michael Schumacher's pushing the car to the limit. Ralph's just sitting there. Hand movements very gradual, very predictable, nothing dramatic. Watch Schumacher coming across start-finish line again as he breaks into this very difficult to see and project into turn 1.
There's the gap we can see as he comes across the line. 7.3 seconds between them, and on that lap again he picked up nearly half a second on Michael Schumacher.
But he runs wide. He runs wide in turn 1, and Enrique Banoldi back in the garage with a problem, but Ralf Schumacher on that lap, 1:16.8.9, ran wide, so he'll allow brother to claw back a little bit more. Let's look back and see. Oh, and it's one of the Minardis.
Alex Young, yep, just losing control. We've seen him spin a few times this weekend. Get on the brakes, Alex. Yep, he's done that. That's one of those areas where they've taken the gravel away and put down the extra grippy tarmac on the runoff section. Just a quick note, John, that Montoya has passed a few people now and he's climbed back up through the field. He's up into 17th position, but now he's got another 11 seconds gap between himself and the Minardi of Mark Webber. But he's lapping pretty quickly, around the 1:17.5.
But the difficulty that Montoya will face is as he gets into the meat of the midfield, those cars, as much as they may try to get out of his way, they are actually racing for position. Montoya will expect no favours because he is not coming up to lap them, he's coming up to pass them for position, so they are not obliged to get out of his way. It's up to Montoya to use his equipment to get past whenever and wherever possible.
Still the battles continue up front as Michael Schumacher trying to stay ahead of his brother Ralf Schumacher up front, and as I mentioned, the gap 7.3 seconds last time around. Jarno Trulli in 3rd position, David Coulthard in 4th, Button in 5th, and then Kimi Raikkonen in 6th ahead of Nick Heidfeld, and then Mika Salo up to 8th position now, with Massa at 9th and Villeneuve into 10th.
But that little moment Ralf Schumacher had at the end of the lap we were watching these cars come through on cost Ralf Schumacher time. The gap has actually extended back up to 8.9 seconds. So one little move coming to this corner, braking just too late, running wide as we saw Ralf do. Get onto the dirty bit of track, you pick up dirt in your tyres, you get rubber. The next 2 or 3 corners you spend cleaning those tyres up, and all that hard work is for nothing.
This was Takuma Sato managing to get past Irvine, was it? Or no, or was he trying to get past? He's trying to get past De La Rosa that time, and it didn't work again.
I mean, that was scary because he was so close to the Jaguar. There was barely room between them. I don't know why there wasn't contact with the wheels. But again, Sato showing that he's not short in the Bravery Stakes. Dived down the inside, missed his braking on the dirty part of the racetrack. I mean, if they can get this guy, get a handle on him and get him to control his well, speed, they may have a winner on their hands.
Yeah, he certainly seems to have lots of talent. It just needs taming at this stage. Now Michael Schumacher getting in amongst the back markers, passing Alex Young any moment here, who's getting the blue flags to say, get out of the way, you've got the race leader coming up. So he hopefully will stay to one side of the track here and not do a Jos Verstappen, who took out Montoya at this point last year in the race. Well, he didn't do that, he got on the brakes early enough. Michael Schumacher goes through cleanly, and he's maintained that gap on this last lap, 8.7 seconds, but Michael's still attacking, although Ralph was a fraction faster on the overall lap time.
Slightly further down the field, Jenson Button under severe attack from Kimi Raikkonen, just half a second between Button in 5th and Raikkonen in 6th as they come across start-finish line, and Raikkonen putting in personal bests on that last lap on the first sector.
Well, Michael Schumacher, can he maintain the pace in the Ferrari to deny Williams on this occasion? Certainly with the way things are looking good at the moment, but it may well be that he has to stop earlier and may well have to stop twice. We don't know yet, still in the relatively early stages, about a third distance completed, nearly there anyway, and this is the battle between Trulli and Coulthard.
Well, it can't get any closer than you're watching it. It says 0.2 of a second as it goes across the start-finish line. I promise you it's less than that now as they sweep through these very low-speed first, second gear turns. No advantage from a tyre perspective, both cars on Michelin tyres. Both cars probably running fairly high levels of fuel at the start of the race. Coulthard certainly has no advantage in a straight line over the Renault of Jarno Trulli. And I tell you, Mercedes-Benz and everybody else should think a lot about what Renault have done with this very wide-angle V10 engine, 111 degrees. Was very problematic at the start of 2001. It's starting to become right now.
Yeah, it looks as though it's got some decent horsepower now, doesn't it? Because again, Coulthard can't get close enough to challenge into the first corner, and once again he has to follow Trulli through the bend, lose aerodynamic downforce, and that drops him a little further back once again. Michael Schumacher did a 1 minute 17.4 as opposed to Ralf Schumacher 1:16.7 last time around. So again, Ralf just closed up the gap slightly. Montoya did a 1:17.3, and Montoya now 5.6 seconds behind Mark Webber in 16th position.
Well, Coulthard closes up as they come through the Ferradura corner. There's not really very much you can do. You can just put pressure on the driver ahead of you. You can move your car around and try and get him to start looking in his mirrors. But really where David Coulthard's got to start to think very hard about what he can do with Jarno Trulli will be as they come to the end of the second sector of this circuit. As they come through the downhill Mergulo corner, try not to brake as late as he's done previously, and then pick up the throttle. It's through this corner, down the bottom, as Jordans are preparing for Takuma Sato to come in for his early pit stop. Shame we cut away from what was going on with Coulthard, but we'll see whether he can do anything with the Renault ahead of him.
Well, that might explain why Takuma's been able to overtake people, well, try to overtake people anyway. He's running a fairly light car if Jordan are already making sure that he's coming into the pits. They're the only team so far that we're seeing preparing.
Well, Mika Salo in the lead, Toyota, as he battles with Nick Heidfeld for 7th place.
That's a very impressive effort once again from Toyota, I have to say. Didn't expect this sort of performance, and once again Salo showing that they can run the Toyota Formula 1 car in the top 10 very competitively.
There you see the differences in that middle sector of the gap closing from Ralf Schumacher to Michael Schumacher. They were 7.9 seconds adrift when they came across the start-finish line at the end of lap 23. Coming up to the end of lap 24, whether it be 7.7, 7.6, it is closing, it's fractional, it's not enough. But Michael Schumacher is driving his Ferrari on the limit. Yeah,
this is classic Michael Schumacher, absolutely on the limit every lap. He has to do every lap like a qualifying lap, and he did a 1:16.6 on that last lap, and that is his personal best so far.
And he stuck it to brother Ralph. The gap has gone from 7.9 up to 8.4. So did Schumacher make a mistake on that lap? We didn't see anything, but certainly Michael pushing. Ross Brawn will be on the radio to him, telling him what he needs to do. They'll be looking at the pit stop window, not so much as when to come in, but when to get back out on track when it's clear.
Coulthard has a good run this time on Jarno Trulli, trying to go for it down the inside, but again he's not quite close enough, and it's a repeat performance behind as Raikkonen continues to pressurise Jenson Button, but again they can't quite find a way past these two Renaults. Well, Coulthard in 4th position. But Michael Schumacher, John, this is where he is so brilliant, is lap after lap putting in such commitment throughout the race, not just on one lap, but time after time.
Well, we've seen it since Michael Schumacher became a Grand Prix driver, and so many races have been won by Michael with the guidance of Ross Brawn in the pits. They've seen victory where there was no victory. No one thought that Schumacher, or either a Ferrari or a Benetton, as it may have been, could win on a given day, yet they made victories happen.
Well, we'll find out what happens. Of course, it'll come down to strategy as well. Just come into the pits, Jacques Villeneuve, so he's come in fairly early, lap number 25 for his first pit stop, and that means that he's on a two-stop strategy, and we wait to see what else other people are on. That drops him back down the order, of course. Montoya, meanwhile, is now right with Mark Webber, let me tell you. As they crossed the line last time, it was 0.2 of a second between them. I think we might have seen Montoya get past by the time we see him once more across start-finish, and Montoya will be in that big group of cars involving people like Panis, Irvine and De La Rosa.
Oh, again, Raikkonen trying so hard to find a way past Jenson Button, but cannot just get his McLaren just far enough up as they get into the brake zone to put it alongside Jenson Button and take away Button's 5th place.
Well, this really is team formation stuff as Trulli holds on to that 3rd position. There's Button running in 5th with Kimi Raikkonen desperately trying to find a way past. Well, he's just got to keep patient, keep cool at this stage in a race. Don't take too many risks, because it may open up for you as long as you're in the right place at the right time.
Well, I think it'll be a case of who will blink first, in other words, who will be first into the pits between these two teams, Renault or McLaren. My suspicion is that it will be the Renault team. McLaren have got a very large fuel capacity, and they've been known on many occasions to go deep into a race before they make that one and only stop for the afternoon.
Let me tell you, Montoya got past Mark Webber on the last lap, and in fact he's past Massa now, because Massa's just been into the pits. So Montoya now up to 13th position, and we've got a yellow. That's because Panis has stopped.
Yes, just on the exit of the Curva de Sol on the back straight, Olivier Panis's car has come to a stop. We don't know the reason for it, we have to wait and see. But in the meantime, Michael Schumacher is again pulling away from Ralf Schumacher in 2nd place, up to 8.6 seconds.
This is very keen of Rubens to be running quite so fast on his way back to the pits, waving to the crowd as he does so.
Well, this is the pit lane he's running down, so he's got the grandstand. There's Olivier Panis on the exit of the pit lane on the other side of the racetrack. That car will have to be removed to safety. Hopefully he's managed to get the car into neutral. There is this situation in the regulations where it is mandatory. You have got an external switch that will enable the car to be put into neutral if the driver has lost. The engine is a battle. McNish dives down the inside.
Well, it's great. Sad news for Panis. He joins Barrichello as another driver not to have finished the first 3 Grand Prix of the season.
There's the yellow flag station just on the exit as Schumacher makes his way past Alex Young, and now Alan McNish will have another lap put on him.
Yes, that's right, and we'll keep an eye on that. And you know, not far ahead of Michael was Juan Pablo Montoya, because he's in that group a little further ahead that he'll be coming up to lap. So that's an interesting situation, although Montoya will have to fight his way through that traffic as quickly as possible.
And interestingly, after that incident in turn 4 in the opening lap, when Montoya had contact with Michael Schumacher, I believe Schumacher did make a second move, but it appears at the present time the decision is that it was Montoya's fault. He outbraked himself.
Well, we shall wait and see, watching the gap here between the two leaders. 8.7 seconds it was as they came around last time. Montoya up into 12th position now, and the next job of his will be to try and get past Eddie Irvine and Pedro de la Rosa in the 2 Jags.
Takuma Sato, who's already been in the pits, is appearing to be back in the pits for a second time. In the meantime, Montoya showing up purple in that final sector.
Oh, look at Michael! Oh, he got so out of shape there under braking. He's behind McNish, and I thought he'd lost it that time.
Well, I think what he was doing was looking ahead of McNish, trying to gauge where he was going to catch the Toyota. He knows that further ahead, there is Montoya there, he's between the 2 Jaguars. He wants to catch Montoya at a part of track, catch McNish at a part of track where he will not lose time, so he has to balance his momentum with what that of McNish's is, so not to catch him. Now McNish is getting the blue flag. He will be warned that the race leader is coming up behind him, and at the first opportunity, or any opportunity, McNish pulls over to the I thought he was going to pull over to the left. He will do so, not down to this left-hander, but into the next right.
Please, we got to get a fine.
He's getting the signal to move out of Michael's way, otherwise they'll get a fine. And it's a difficult section of track
Alan, you have to let Schumacher
move
pass. You will have to let
him
Schumacher
past.
pass.
to let him pass. I'm sure Alan will do it.
Into the first corner, into the first corner.
Now, whether McNish's judgment is right or not, has he gone past 4 stations? That is the question. But I think that the team were right to say let him go through. McNish could have backed off and gotten himself out of a potential problem. He's now going to let him go through here into turn 1. But Michael's hand may come out of the cockpit. He may not necessarily be entirely happy about that.
So he's let him through now. This was the moment before. Watch this one.
Way, he did get it sideways coming in very early again. That's almost a replay of what we saw in practice on Saturday morning when again the back of the car suddenly steps out. Now this time he corrected it. The previous time the car took a turn to the left, finished up across the grass, across that high friction tarmac, and it backed it into the tyre barrier. Michael, you are on the limit, but new as his brother Ralf Schumacher, the gap is now closed. Once again, it's down to the lowest it's been in any point in the race, 6.5 seconds, and Ralf Schumacher is currently the quickest man on the track.
Look at this again, he's dirt tracking this thing, he's all over the place, sideways, but still going quickly as the battle continues between the Renaults and the McLarens. That's Trulli versus Coulthard coming through. Picture not far behind them is Button with Raikkonen, but Michael Schumacher really trying hard at this stage, 6.5 seconds ahead of his brother Ralf Schumacher. This race is certainly not over because Michael knows he's having to put everything on the line to stay in front. Montoya now trying to get past
De La Rosa.
De La Rosa, this is, yes.
I don't think there'll be too much trouble. Montoya on the outer side of the circuit, the racing line. Montoya on the inside. He did the right thing. He got out of Montoya's way. He knows the BMW Williams has got the pace, and he knows that Montoya, if he doesn't get past him, he might even go over the top of him.
Good job. You can make P3.
So he's being told by race engineer Tony Ross that he could get up to position 3. Well, that won't satisfy Montoya. He's out to win this race. There's no doubt about that. He will be fuming, but at the moment he's trying to control that aggression that he must feel after what happened on the first race, and he's just got to concentrate on the job of driving the car as efficiently as possible.
Well, everybody thought that Montoya would be the driver trying to get under Michael Schumacher's skin, but I think right now it's Michael Schumacher is returning the compliment and getting really under the skin of the Colombian. 2 races in succession now, there's been contact on the first lap, not necessarily the first corner of the first lap, and on both occasions it would appear that Montoya has suffered more than he feels is fair.
Yes, picked up the drive-through penalty, of course, last time in Malaysia, although Michael had to make the stop for the wing change. Look at the gap between these two.
5.7 seconds. Ralf Schumacher is using the opportunity. Malka is more in traffic right now. He's got Pedro de la Rosa, or Servine in fact, ahead of him. So Ralf Schumacher using the clearer air, the clearer track. No problem for old teammates. Michael slips through, dives down the inside, doesn't lose any time in that overtaking or that lapping manoeuvre on the arrow.
So he goes through 5.5 seconds. There is Montoya just coming through the shot. Schumacher, Michael that is, 5.5 seconds ahead of brother Ralf, as the two of them still push as hard as possible at this stage in the race. Montoya in 9th place, but still having to stay ahead of Michael Schumacher if possible as he cuts his way through the traffic. 1 minute 17.0 from Montoya on that last lap. Quick note to Alan McNish, not particularly quick on that last lap, but he has been lapping very quickly. He's just right at the back because of his problems on the opening lap.
And this battle continues for 3rd place. Trulli still holding off David Coulthard. Coulthard seemingly unable to find the momentum out of the corner, out of the pit straight. Turn 13, that uphill corner. He just doesn't have the drive or the horsepower to do anything about Jarno Trulli's Renault.
And this battle, John, between the McLarens and the Renaults, allowing for reliability, will all come down to how much fuel they started the race with, how long they have to stop for when they make their stop, and getting back out again. And you can see that we've completed 31 laps, 32 laps now. In fact, the leader's just gone over the line. 32 laps completed, 39 laps left to go. We're getting towards that half-distance mark, but some of these guys will have started with a very heavy tank of fuel and go quite a long way beyond half-distance before they have to stop.
And that's very much determined by 2 factors. One, in principle, is your tyre situation, and secondly, the other is about how much fuel you can actually take on board. And at one stage, 2 or 3 years ago, teams were building cars with fairly small tanks until they realised that they were handicapping themselves. Build a big tank, it may have some limitations in other areas, but it gives you more strategy, more advantages when it comes to the race.
So on board with Kimi Raikkonen, this wonderful view from just behind the front wing. Let's just ride with him a moment as he comes up across the start-finish area. Drops downhill into the left-hander. Hear the traction control working, and then the power coming in from that Mercedes V10 engine.
Well, these four are having a ding-dong, so is Mika Salo. He's having a great battle with Nick Heidfeld. That's a battle for 7th place, just behind this row of 4 cars, and there's only 0.6 of a second between the Toyota in 7th place, or 8th place, and Heidfeld Sauber in 7th.
Well, that's a good battle to watch, and in fact those two are being hunted down by Montoya, although he's a long way behind. Bit of a mistake there from Jenson Button, got a bit out of shape, managed to gather it all up, but again you can see how hard they're trying.
5.4 seconds. The gap suddenly stalled out. It was coming down by lumps and chunks, but now just at 5.4 seconds, Michael Schumacher, Ralf Schumacher, back into a clear air situation as we see race leader come up, just overtaken Pedro de la Rosa, a lap down for de la Rosa.
Michael Schumacher then, let's see what lap times he can do. Montoya doing a similar lap times, in fact, to both Michael Schumacher and Ralf Schumacher, first and second. The pace doesn't seem to be that different between the Ferrari and the Williams BMW at this point in the race. But what's going to happen when it comes time to stop? Who can go that bit deeper? Who won't have to put quite so much fuel on board? We'll have to wait and see.
Critical here for Ralf Schumacher not to overrun Pedro de la Rosa as they come down through the Magulu. Now get on the brakes. Ralph, be careful, pick up the throttle. You've got horsepower, you've got the drive. Pedro de la Rosa will be aware that he's about to go a lap down. He was being very generous indeed to other drivers when he was being lapped. He's quite a long way behind though with de la Rosa. De la Rosa may be able to sneak through turn 1, or he may opt to let him go, let Schumacher know he's not. It's going to be de la Rosa's corner.
Yes, and maybe Ralph can now line him up. Oof, gets a bit sideways on the curve there. Try and line him up for the next hairpin, but that little mistake might drop him back too far.
That's the whole key. Michael Schumacher on the same lap. Lap 34 went quickest. 1:15.601, personal quickest lap, I should say.
Yeah, another
there is
quick lap. Yeah, quick lap indeed from Michael Schumacher. 5.9 seconds, the gap between himself. Now this is where Ralph needs to get through quickly. They're now into the twisty section of track, and you don't want to get stuck behind someone in this part of the track because it's very difficult to overtake until you come back round to start-finish area, and this is where Michael has the chance to pull away slightly.
And let's have a look and see, has he got through? Yes, no, he hasn't. Now Ralph dives down the inside. De la Rosa, well, I mean, he couldn't have done very much more. He would have had to have literally lit it off the throttle and waited over a second for Ralf Schumacher to come through. It went wrong here for Ralph because he didn't really get the momentum up. Then into turn 1, he got all out of shape because he was watching De La Rosa rather than watching what he was doing himself. Montoya continues his progress now, 7.7 seconds behind Mika Salo in 8th place.
Let's see what the gap is this time as they come across the line. It's gone out a bit more, 6.8 seconds. Then the gap between Michael Schumacher and Ralph in the Williams. Trulli is still in 3rd place in the Renault. Coulthard in 4th, but they're a long way behind the top two.
You saw Montoya just go round the descent of the Lago. There's Michael Schumacher. So the distance between leader and Montoya, currently running in 9th place, is a little more than about 4 seconds.
That's right, but they're doing the same sort of lap times. In fact, on that last lap, Montoya had a clearer run, and he was faster than Michael Schumacher. Take a look at Montoya, charging, attacking. After the new front wing was fitted, he has certainly moved up the order, but he's some 7.7 seconds behind that very tight battle between Heidfeld and Salo for 7th position.
And there's this battle continuing along for 3rd place between Jarno Trulli and David Coulthard, and immediately behind it is Jenson Button and Kimi Raikkonen. And then Michael Schumacher comes across the line at the end of this lap. We will be just over half distance, lap 36. As again we go on board with Coulthard, not able to get himself into position. Traffic up ahead, and that's Mark Webber. So that's maybe an opportunity for Coulthard if Jarno Trulli finds himself slightly compromised by the Australian.
Well, we'll have to wait and see on that one. Still waiting for the leaders, and Michael Schumacher's just set a new fastest lap. Waiting for the leaders to make their pit stop. They're all looking to be on a 1 pit stop strategy, and the only people really on 2 pit stops are further down the order at the moment. People like Villeneuve who made a stop, Sato, who stopped early as well. But most of these front runners, it's definite, are on one stop. The question is, how far into the race will they go before they make that one stop?
And Mark Webber in the Minardi did a great job to get out of the way. He literally pulled off track onto the dirty line to let Trulli and Coulthard go through. And that really is what you expect from a driver running in the position of Webber. And well done, Mark. You used your mirrors. An intelligent drive.
Ralf Schumacher not getting his way through the traffic quickly enough. 7.6 seconds behind his brother now. We're riding on board with David Coulthard, still trying to find a way past Jarno Trulli. But tell you what, Trulli's doing a great job here in the race, John. Some people have criticised him for not being consistent enough in the races, but he's doing everything asked of him here.
Yes, they've got Felipe Massa ahead of them. But really, I wonder just how fast David Coulthard could have gone if he'd been ahead of the Renault. Of course, the problem is he's not. It's almost irrelevant, but I'm sure after the race there will be some comment that David said, I'm sure I was quicker than the Renault, but I couldn't find the way past. Sounds like a contradiction to me.
Well, we'll have to see if that's the story afterwards. There's Montoya in shot, and there is Michael Schumacher, the two of them who made contact once again on the first lap here in Brazil. And now Montoya has to make sure he doesn't get lapped. It's unlikely because they're lapping at pretty much the same speed. What a great battle it could have been. It could have been a three-way battle rather than a two-way battle that it is at the moment between Michael and Ralf. And I say it's a two-way battle, but the gap between them is still 8.1 seconds.
And we're seeing a real tour de force. I mean, a drive of supreme quality from Michael Schumacher. He's extended the gap once again. It came down to under 6 seconds, back up to 8.1. Michael Schumacher putting in fastest lap after lap. 16.363 was his last lap. And brother Ralf, well, I don't know, he's made of quite the same stuff as Michael is. I think that Michael is that much more special than Ralf, and Ralf is proving to be pretty special in himself.
This is another fast lap from Michael Schumacher coming up, although Ralf Schumacher quick on the middle sector, but this is likely to be a new fastest lap from Michael Schumacher. 1:16.235, indeed, it's a new fastest lap, but what's his brother going to do? It's going to be another quick one from the Williams BMW driver, a 1:16.5, 0.3 of a second slower, so the gap still opens out between them as the fuel load burns off, and one or two more pit stops being prepared. Toyota getting ready now.
Yes, but also you see Montoya, he's closing down to Mika Salo and Nick Heidfeld, and in the meantime Michael Schumacher is coming up to, well, ideally for Schumacher, put a lap on Montoya. Wouldn't that be sweet? But the Ferrari pit is ready, and Michael Schumacher will be the only Ferrari making a pit stop here this afternoon.
Yes, it does look as though Ferrari are beginning to prepare. They are. Ferrari are getting ready in pit lane now for Michael Schumacher's pit stop. Now, how much further than this will Williams be able to go? We're just over the halfway distance point, but the question is, can Ralf do anything? He just doesn't quite seem to have the pace of his brother at the moment, and it's a question of how much fuel they started with and how long he'll have to sit in the pit lane to be refueled.
And this is also, remember, the first race for Ferrari's F2002. That's the designated number of the car. Schumacher comes, now he's going to make the cut into pit lane. He'll come in at racing speed. All of a sudden he'll be on the brakes. There's a signal to the right that says 80 kilometers per hour. Ralf Schumacher, for the first time this afternoon, Ben, is going to take over the lead.
He is indeed. And Mika Salo came in at the same time. You just saw a car ahead. That was Mika Salo coming into the pits. And a brand new set of unscrubbed Bridgestones going on board. Now, how much fuel, how much longer is it going to take to get the fuel in? They're clearing out the side pods. 12.6 seconds. Well, that's pretty much what you'd expect on a single stop for Ferrari. I wonder if Williams will have to put a little less fuel in. Depends if they started any heavier than that. We'll wait and see. 12.6 seconds stationary, and it all looks clean as he comes out. Get through the pit lane exit safely, and out he comes once again.
We'll wait to see how far into the race. Schumacher almost overrunning. Now, don't go over that line, Michael. Until now, you're okay. You can pull out. No, and Salo just goes to the left or to the right.
Oh, he doesn't know he's there, does he?
Oh. He does now.
That gave him a little bit of a scare, but as you can see, the amount in the Ferrari enough to make it through to the end of the race, and that's as we'd expected, a one stop for him. But when will Ralf Schumacher come in? Also waiting for Montoya, who's moved up to 8th place overall.
The question now is, how fast can Ralf Schumacher run? He wasn't really being impeded by anybody ahead of him. It was only the back markers. Michael Schumacher really was the quickest car on the circuit. Ralf has push. He'll be told by the pits he's got to make it as far as he can. The deeper they can go, of course, the shorter their time will be at a standstill in the pits. They're the Williams team. They're sitting back. It's a bit of a Sunday afternoon for them. No Easter eggs right now, but if they win, no doubt there will be.
Well, let's wait and see what happens. A 16.370 lap there from Ralf Schumacher. That's pretty good. Not quite the fastest overall, though. Michael Schumacher still with the fastest lap in this race so far. And we'll see whether he can hold onto that at a 1:16.235, set just before he came in to make his one and only pit stop. Montoya, meanwhile, only 1.2 seconds behind Heidfeld as they went round last time.
Be interesting to watch what Michael Schumacher does in his first flying lap as we go back to this battle for third place. Jarno Trulli still able very comfortably to keep David Coulthard behind him, and Kimi Raikkonen now has got ahead of Jenson Button, so has been a change for fifth place. McLaren's now fourth and fifth.
Right, yes, at last Kimi Raikkonen has managed to find his way past that Renault of Jenson Button, and now closing up to his teammate. And you can see the muck on David Coulthard's car as he's been sitting in the slipstream of Jarno Trulli for lap after lap after lap, and he still can't find a way through. Now, when are these guys going to stop? Surely it won't be too long now.
Well, Coulthard again looks threatening with Jarno Trulli, but at a part of track he can really do very little with. You can see the helmet on Coulthard, where there's been oil vapor coming out of the back of the Renault, and it's just, you know, it's a problem for a driver. You've got rip-offs on your visor, but you know, if you get so much oil, you run out of rip-offs, then you have an opaque visor. Visibility is awful.
Let me just tell you, Montoya has just got past Nick Heidfeld, so that puts Montoya into 7th position now, and that puts him about 15 seconds off this group, if you like, this battle that's going on between the Renaults and the McLarens, off the back of the group at least. So Montoya still charging.
And there, the Williams team projector position says that Montoya is capable, at the pace he can run at, of getting third place in this race. Who'd have thought at the end of the first lap, Montoya almost flat last, could finish up third.
Oh, off goes Alex Young. And where's that around the track? It's down at the turn 4. He's gone wide, and I think he's managed to get back on again, actually. Well, we'll keep an eye on that one. Alex has had 1 or 2 spins, it has to be said. Ralf Schumacher still out there, still not heading for the pit lane by the looks of things.
His lap, Michael's lap, was half a second slower than Ralf Schumacher's fastest lap, or last lap. Now that is not enough in my view. Michael has got new tyres, but he's got a lot of fuel on board. That's a lot of weight, and in my view Ralf needs to extend that advantage. He's got 23.4 seconds. You're going to need something like minimum 34, 35. Peter Windsor told us 42 seconds for a pit stop. Now, depending on the amount of fuel you need to take on board, that can be flexible. Last year David Coulthard had the fastest pit stop in 33.037. That sounds like a little bit of fuel, quick tyres, back out, so the best you can hope for is 33 seconds.
And that's not going to be enough, is it, John, with a gap between the two of them, as you see there, of 23.9 seconds. Ralf is and off goes McNish. Alan McNish in the Toyota has had a spin at turn 4. Trying to listen up on the radio. Oh, and he stalled it.
Has he stalled it?
He has done.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
What a shame for Alan McNish.
Is this going to be a safety car situation?
CDS, Alan, CDS. No driver out.
Stuck in a not very pleasant part of the circuit, a very quick down into turn 4, and look, you can see one of the Minardis came down and tried to get out of the way and actually got onto the dirty part of track.
Meanwhile, Montoya's in the pits. Let me tell you, Juan Pablo Montoya has come into the pits on this, the 43rd lap. This was what happened to Alan McNish. Well, watch to see what happened to... Oh, and it just broke away very viciously as he went into the corner.
Was that the result of his pit stop, or was that something else? Certainly his rear brake appeared to lock on.
Meanwhile, look, there's Montoya just coming out, 9.6 seconds, so they didn't have to put as much fuel in as the Ferrari.
McNish trying to... Oh, no, Massa's gone off.
Felipe Massa, that is, who's taken off.
Turn 4 as well.
Oh dear, it's all going wrong for him. He was down in 14th position for the Brazilian, and, well, has he kept that one running?
In fact,
I don't think so.
Sorry, it's not. I'm still looking at the red sector, which is McNish. Massa's up at turn 5 into Ferradura, and there you see that he's on that high grip. There we look, a battle. Oh, was there contact there or not?
Oh, this was all very close.
Yes, there was.
And that was with Mark Webber. Mark Webber was battling for position there, trying to get into 14th, and there was contact between them. Now, some more pit stops coming up here. Williams look ready to take Ralf Schumacher in, and Renault are making a pit stop as well. In the pits at the moment is Jarno Trulli. There he is. We can see Jarno now being refueled, and this is crucial in their battle with McLaren. That was a good quick stop for Jarno Trulli, but this is the crucial one. Ralf Schumacher with a 24-second advantage comes in, but surely it won't be enough to get out in front of Michael. Watch the fuel go on board. 12.5 litres per second. It would take you only 4 seconds to fill up a normal road car with the amount of fuel that goes so quickly into these machines. Out he comes, but Michael's already driving past.
Indeed he is, and also Ralf has to do 50 miles an hour all the way down the pit lane until he gets, once he makes his descent, then he can get up to speed. But Michael Schumacher has regained, Ralf almost lost it in the pit lane. Michael Schumacher regains the lead as Ralf accelerates down the pit lane, rejoins the track. The gap, probably not a great deal of difference to where it was. In fact, if anything, it's maybe marginally closer than prior to Michael Schumacher making his pit stop.
Yes, I think, they've done a good job, but it's Michael all over this race. It's all about putting those laps together in the mid part of the race, early to mid part, where he's just been flat out the whole time. He never backs off. He doesn't make mistakes, and even when he does, he gets away with them with his reactions and car control. And that is classic Michael Schumacher. It's been a brilliant drive into the pits now. Jenson Button. A little bit slow just getting the fuel hose out, but remember, that fuel hose weighs about 60 kilograms. It's very, very heavy indeed. But they managed to get it out, and he's back into the race.
Ben, Ralf Schumacher took a calculated 83 litres of fuel as opposed to the 92 for Michael Schumacher as we get back on board with Jarno Trulli.
So, how's this going to settle down? The two McLarens, John, still to come in. They haven't stopped, so we're, they nearly have, because there they are, indeed, getting ready to accept one of the McLarens. Coulthard's very quick on this lap, and this could be the opportunity for them to come in and then stay ahead. If they can just put in a couple of quick laps here, they might be able to get themselves out ahead of Jarno Trulli. That's the key.
Coulthard. Coulthard first of the McLarens into the pits. Coulthard also quick on that in lap. You see him come up at 50 miles an hour, 80 kilometers per hour. Seems an interminable amount of time. McLaren choosing to go very, very late and deep into the race. Again, the amount of fuel they have to take on board probably comparable to that of Ralf Schumacher in somewhere in the middle, 80 litres. But here is Jarno Trulli coming back, and Coulthard leaves the pit 10.2 seconds. I think that Jarno Trulli will actually retain his third place. Coulthard's stop, I don't think will be quick enough to see him get back out on track and keep third place. Here comes Trulli. Coulthard in the pit lane.
It's going to be a close one, though. Let's watch them as they come down the hill here. There is Coulthard coming out of the pit, and of course
he's got it done.
Yeah, it looks like it, building up to speed, and it looks like Coulthard and McLaren have won this little battle. He's got ahead of the Renaults. What a great piece of work. That's what they've been trying to achieve. But don't forget, Raikkonen is yet to stop. He'll be coming in next time around, and he was right with David, so there could still be quite a battle when Raikkonen rejoins between the two McLaren teammates.
Very close indeed. Great job by both teams. That 10.2 second stop of Coulthard, I was well convinced it wasn't going to be quick enough, but clearly I was wrong. Now we wait for Kimi Raikkonen to come in for his stop of the afternoon. Raikkonen currently showing in third place. He's some 24 seconds behind Ralf Schumacher, who's 2.7 seconds behind race leader Raikkonen in the pits.
He put in a quick lap the lap before this one, a 16.8. That's one of the quicker laps we've seen from the McLaren so far. So Kimi knows the score. You have to push as hard as possible when you've got some clear air before your pit stop. Now a scrubbed set of Michelins going on board. The fuel hose, 9.4 seconds. This could get him out ahead of David Coulthard.
Yes, half a second, 0.6 of a second faster than Coulthard. So as he makes his way down the pits, so slow, but that's the mandatory speed limit, 50 miles an hour, 80 k's per hour. Now there's the Benetton coming around turn one. There's Raikkonen, second car of those two.
Yeah, that's Coulthard first, of course. Watch out for Coulthard. That's the battle. There's Raikkonen rejoining. There's Coulthard on the outside. This is an important battle between these two, and Raikkonen sensibly slots in behind Coulthard.
And what we thought might be the case, that both McLarens were capable of running marginally faster than both Renaults. The pit stop's probably very similar, but the difference was Renault stopped earlier. It gave Raikkonen and Coulthard that opportunity to get a couple of quick laps in to give them that margin.
So, it's moved Coulthard up into third position overall. Raikkonen now in fourth position. Trulli in fifth place. Button in sixth, and Montoya now 14 seconds behind Jenson Button. That's going to be the interesting battle now, to watch Montoya and see whether he can close up to this group of McLarens and Renaults, and whether he's got the pace to be able to catch up, and pass in the remaining 24 laps. And the other thing, does that 2002 Ferrari have the legendary Ferrari reliability of recent seasons?
Well, I just wonder now, we're going to see a battle going on between Coulthard and Raikkonen. The gap has increased marginally. David pulled away about a tenth of a second. Raikkonen, of course, on 4 points from his third place in Australia. David Coulthard yet to score this season.
Up the hill comes Michael Schumacher. The gap between himself and Ralph last time was only 2.6 seconds. Now let's just see what they're lapping at relative to one another here. A 16.8 for Michael, a 16.9 for Ralph. It's still so evenly matched between these two cars. The Ferrari and the Williams BMW. So close in terms of lap times. And still Michael with the advantage. You just again saw Montoya going through the picture ahead, and he's still some 13.7 seconds off Jenson Button.
Unless one of these two drivers makes an error, the only thing that's going to bring them closer, in my view, will be traffic. Whether Michael meets it first or whether it gets Ralph is the one that suffers.
It's going to be tough, I think, for Montoya to catch Jenson Button, you know, in time over the remainder of this race, but I'm sure he'll be pushing hard all the way. And there is 23 laps to go, and the Renault still running quickly. 1 minute 17.198 last time around, compared to Montoya on a 1:16.882. Riding on board with Ralf Schumacher, though, here in second position.
Fuel switch confirmed. 10-4 Mike can also be a up position.
Well, a little bit of garbling on the radio, but hopefully that's not distracting Ralf Schumacher. Let's see the gap this time around as he comes across the line. Again, 2.3 seconds, and this time a fraction faster. 4/10 faster, actually, for Ralph, but then, of course, Michael had some traffic to deal with just there, getting past Alex Young, I think he has, just passed.
But this is maybe one of the rare occasions we're going to see the Schumacher brothers battle for victory. We did get a glimpse of something a few years ago in the Spanish Grand Prix, where Michael and Ralph went side by side round two of the corners near the completion of the lap to such a degree that it allowed Barrichello to slip through and get position. And it was as if Michael and Ralph refused to yield to one another. Well, they're not close enough to that, but this lap it is getting closer, currently 2.3 seconds. Yeah, it's probably about the same.
Well, if it carries on like this, it'll be very much a Schumacher battle at the top of the points table. Montoya down in 7th at the moment. The team reckon he could get up to 3rd, but I think that's going to be quite a struggle here this afternoon. And it's bad news for Montoya in his championship challenge. And we could well see a battle between the two brothers for the battle, certainly in the early stages of this season. Coulthard looking good at the moment, but oh dear, I don't want to say anything about David. He's had so much bad luck so far this year. At the moment he's running in 3rd place, Raikkonen his teammate in 4th, Trulli and Button for Renault running in 5th and 6th places, Montoya 7th, Heidfeld 8th, then Mika Salo 9th, Takuma Sato in 10th position, and he's just come back out after his 2nd pit stop.
Well, the ebb and flow of this battle for the lead. A tenth of a second here, lost somewhere else. Ralf Schumacher not making any substantial impression on his brother. Both drivers on the limit, but you have to think that the equipment that Ralph has is on the day superior. What we're seeing from Michael Schumacher is something which really I didn't anticipate. The thought that Juan Pablo Montoya was going to really run away from the field and supported by Ralf Schumacher was the favourite outcome, but Michael Schumacher is just continues, never stops impressing.
Pump on, but it's okay, the two ways.
Oh, it's all gone wrong for Eddie Irvine. Look at the smoke coming from the back of that. That surely isn't right.
Well, they said turn the oil pump on. At the point, Irvine complied with that instruction from the pits. We got a puff of what looked like oil smoke to me, but you know, maybe it was just a little drip at the point where it was turned on.
Yeah, maybe turning the oil pump on caused that smoke. Maybe he is going to be all right. He's currently running in 10th position. Sato, as I mentioned, have just stopped, so he's dropped down the order again. He's down into 13th position as we look at the live super slow-mo and watch the Ferrari in action.
But Ben, the gap is now down to 1.9 seconds. The first time we have dipped below the 2-second barrier. And Ralph is now beginning to pick up the pace. 0.3 of a second faster on lap 51 of 71.20 to go.
Wow, it's certainly still a motor race here between the two Schumachers. The gap between first and second just under 2 seconds as you watch Michael Schumacher throwing that Ferrari 2002 car through the first Senna S corner here in Brazil. And there you could see just caught a glimpse of the Williams going through as well. That's how close they were as they went through that first corner.
Jenson Button still under pressure further back as we again see that lead begin to shrink. Ralf Schumacher is putting pressure on this. Michael Schumacher, just having used the Ferrari so much, putting so much pressure on his Bridgestone tyres that they're beginning to say, look, I can't take any more. Ralf sensing that he's got Michael on the run, beginning to close that gap. It's slight every lap, but there are plenty of laps remaining. When they come across the line, it will be 19 to go.
Across the line they come, and the lap times this time as Michael Schumacher at 1:16.8, another 1:16.4 from Ralf. He's been very consistent the last few laps. The last 3 laps have all been 1:16.4, and he's gained about 4/10 every lap. So he's closing 1.5 seconds the gap between the two of them now.
Well, two people who know these boys better than any will be the Schumacher parents, and I can't imagine what they're thinking sitting watching this. They've seen them grow up. The difference in age is not really a problem, but when they get together, if this gap comes down to less than half a second, we're going to have one of the most exciting Grand Prix finishes, I think, ever on our hands.
He's still closing that first sector 0.3 of a second faster than Michael Schumacher, and Michael is struggling surely a little bit there, isn't he? He looks a little bit off the pace. I think he's okay, just through that left-hander, but that first sector, certainly Ralf closing the gap up just a bit more.
And I think by the time we see these two cars come back across start-finish line, that gap is going to be closer to 1 second than 1.5, which is what it was. And they went across the line, lap 52, coming up to complete lap 53.
Michael a little faster through the middle sector, in fact, so he was okay through that section, but Jean Todt, he doesn't know quite what to make of this. Across the line this time, the gap is going to be much the same, I think. Well, another 1/10 of a second gained by Ralf Schumacher. Oh, this is great. This is what we want to see. Real battling between these two top teams. We thought it was going to be Montoya versus Michael Schumacher today, but Ralf really pushing hard.
And good news is the only car ahead of them is actually Juan Montoya. It takes another 3 or 4 corners before we see Trulli, Button, Coulthard and Raikkonen. But they're about, well, half a mile away. Montoya will be running similar pace to the 2 lead cars, so for the next 15, 10 so laps, we should see a pure battle between the Schumacher brothers.
Yes, indeed, and let's see whether Ralf can keep it all smooth, keep it controlled. He certainly was a little bit scrappy there.
Yeah, he really ran into the corner very late in the brakes, had to gather it all up, lost maybe a half a tenth or something. But nonetheless, shows you the commitment and the pressure both drivers are applying to each other.
It's good stuff, isn't it, as the Ferrari that they brought here especially for this race tries to be quicker. Again, Michael is a fraction faster through the midsection of the track. Again, Ralf was faster over the opening sector of the track, and on this final sector, let's just watch as they come across the line again this time. Michael across the line first, and Ralf again closes the gap fractionally. He's slightly faster on that final sector.
Well, Juan Pablo Montoya, of course, he's ahead of Michael Schumacher and Ralf Schumacher, but he's the next car up. They will see him as he enters turn 4. They'll be coming out of turn 3.
Still a long way behind Jenson Button. He's 10.1 seconds off Jenson Button, but on the last lap he gained some 0.6 of a second, so he is closing up. And the question is whether he's got enough time to make up that 10-second disadvantage.
The problem for him is that the cars that are immediately ahead of him, the 4 cars, are all on Michelin tyres, so there's no advantage from a tyre point of view for Juan Pablo Montoya. And of course he's having to drive knowing that all that went on in the first lap, you've got to put that out of your mind. You've got to focus on what is ahead of you. He's got the potential, it's marginal, to get 1 point. If he gets 1 point, he might have the momentum to go on and take 2 points, because Jarno Trulli is only 1.5 seconds ahead of Jenson Button. Don't worry about
yeah, that
Mark
was just,
Webber.
That's right, Mark Webber there. He's down in 14th place behind the 2 Renaults. But now this is interesting. What was all this about?
Well, Trulli's got his hand out of the cockpit. I don't know what he's waving at, but looking down and seeing Trulli's looking at, well, his
Somebody going very slowly there that he was passing, didn't quite spot who that was. A new fastest lap from Ralf Schumacher. He's got the gap to under 1 second now between himself and the Ferrari. This battle is well and truly on as again he closes up. 16.224, that is the new fastest lap of the race.
And just watch the different body language of the Ferrari and the Williams. Ferrari on Bridgestone tyres, the Williams on the Michelin tyre, the tyre that really was the dominant tyre throughout the qualifying. Only on Friday morning did we see Bridgestone looking very, very strong. Since then it has gone all Michelin's way until the race, and only because of Michael Schumacher. Rubens Barrichello did a blinding job but on a very light load of fuel, and then all of a sudden retirement came, and we are still waiting to see the reason for that retirement. But now Ralf Schumacher getting close as he needs to at this part of track. He doesn't need to run any closer, he will hurt himself. It's here that he can make best use of his traction, well, the turn in the traction and the power of the BMW.
Yeah, this is where he wants the horsepower.
You are free to use the boost button. You can use the boost button.
Well, you heard it right here on Digital F1. You can use the boost button, Ralf, he's being told, and I'm sure he will, given half a chance.
And I think that relates to just upping the rev limiter rather than having something like a big turbocharger with an extra boost. So Ralf now been given the okay from the pits to go, 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 as Michael Schumacher is only 0.6 of a second. That was across the line. It probably will fluctuate marginally. It's actually more difficult now for Ralf Schumacher running this close to his brother than it was to catch him.
Yes, this is the difficult bit now, running in the dirty air behind the Ferrari. The aerodynamics of his own car messed up effectively and making the car slide around that little bit more. This is why he needs that engine to power him up the hill so well. But don't forget this new Ferrari engine. It's the first time we've seen this new Ferrari engine in action. It's doing a pretty good job.
I think Ralf Schumacher is going to have only one opportunity to overtake his brother. That will be along pit straight in front of both the Williams and Ferrari team garages. He must get himself into position. It's so critical down through the Magulo corner. Coming up into turn 13, easy on the brakes, get the turn in right, get the power on, use the grip, use the drive.
Yes, but is he close enough? He's still a long way behind as they climb up the hill. And this is where he needs to be closing, and he's not closing enough. 0.6 of a second last time around. Really now the gap is not so significant. It's more a question of track position as he tries to find a way past.
Michael gets a little bit wide and loose in turn one. Here's a chance for Ralf to pick up the momentum. Ralf maybe didn't quite anticipate it as quickly as he should have done. Michael will know that he was under pressure. He did make a mistake. Watch his head, check the mirrors as they come down into turn 4.
This is great stuff. There's 6.5 years difference between them in age.
Will be effective now. He is right at 18. Last lap.
There is a huge amount of difference in terms of experience. Michael has won 54 Grand Prix and Ralf has won only 4, but he wants to beat his brother. They've always been competitive from their karting days. They still go karting together and they still want to beat each other, and now Ralf has a chance to pass the Ferrari.
In the meantime, Juan Pablo Montoya, also running in fairly clear air, has only one car ahead of him. That's Jenson Button, 8.3 seconds away.
We just want to use the boost limiter to get the good style on it.
Trying to listen up on the radio a little bit and take a look here on that last lap, John. A little bit of that mistake from Michael Schumacher.
Yeah, again, in that turn, misses the apex, probably by a good 2 meters. Ralf, you can see how much he gained as he came through, but I think he almost was caught unawares by Michael making that little error.
Montoya has just put in a quick lap, his personal best, but not the fastest lap of the race. It's closed him to within 7.5 seconds of Jenson Button in the battle for 6th, but it's the battle for the lead that we're watching so closely.
And strangely, the gap on that last lap, even in spite of Michael making an error, has widened to back over a second, 1.1 seconds. So maybe Ralf was slightly unsettled by what happened to Michael, and in his own momentum just got, oh, what's going on?
All comes down to the tyre wear as well, and in fact in the earlier stint of this race it did appear Ralf couldn't lap as quickly as the Ferrari towards the end of his stint on the tyres. I wonder if that's going to be a factor as we get into the closing stages of this race. Well, lap after lap, Michael Schumacher just ahead of his brother Ralf. David Coulthard is some 55 seconds behind this battle in running in 3rd place. Raikkonen in 4th, just behind him. And then, of course, Trulli and Button for Renault. Montoya is some 7.4 seconds off them. Mika Salo is 8th, Irvine 9th, De La Rosa 10th. Both Jags running reliably again. Villeneuve is 11th, ahead of Heidfeld 12th. Sato in 13th, and Mark Webber and Alex Young are final runners in 14th and 15th places.
Very shortly, Michael and Ralf Schumacher will be coming up to lap Mark Webber for the second time. in the Minardi. Montoya, of course, is also ahead of him, but Montoya running at identical pace to the two leaders. Montoya now got the distance between himself and Jenson Button down to 6.9 seconds. That one single point this afternoon may well be attainable.
Yes, it may, and of course don't forget that Jenson Button is not that far behind his teammate Jarno Trulli, only 1.2 seconds off his teammate. But let's ride with Ralph. Can he find a little bit more performance? It is so tough once you get to this distance behind another very evenly matched car to try and find a way past. This is where he'd be wishing, well, maybe I wish I had a little bit less wing, perhaps a bit more straight line speed, and then perhaps I could find a way past him. But then, of course, it compromises you somewhere else. Watching David Coulthard here, running in third, ahead of teammate Kimi Räikkönen.
And there'll be many relief faces in the McLaren Mercedes-Benz team to see the two cars running. All right, they're not running on the pace. Coulthard some 56 seconds, in fact, behind Michael Schumacher. And Räikkönen running just 1 or 2.3 seconds as it is on this lap behind Coulthard in fourth place. Still with the two Renaults of Trulli and Button in fifth and sixth. But it is Juan Pablo Montoya, the man who again sets fastest race lap, who is closing down 5.8 seconds. 12 laps to go of 71 laps.
So Montoya still the man to watch on a charge after the first lap accident between himself and Michael Schumacher. The contact that was made didn't affect Schumacher on this occasion. It took the front wing off Montoya's car, and he's been struggling to get back into the race ever since. Michael Schumacher, though, still has a race on his hands. Oh, and Alex Yoong has spun yet again from 15th position.
And that's down in just after... yes, it's just that's the penultimate of those very slow, unpronounceable Brazilian type
Pico de
runners.
Pato, I think it is, that one. And look at Ralph again, he's got a bit closer.
But Mark Webber once again did a great job. That was the car they were going to have to lap. He was advised by the pits what was coming up. He watched his mirrors, he got off the racing line, out of the way, let these two brothers go at it. They're going at it. You can't get better than this.
It was a good lap last time around from Ralph, and in fact Montoya has just set the fastest first segment time on this next lap as well. So Montoya still flying, trying to close up to Jenson Button. And here we arrive on board with Ralf Schumacher. This is where he needs a good exit. This is where, on the power, he's trying to gain a little more momentum and close up to the back of the Ferrari.
And I bet you one thing, Michael Schumacher is probably very relieved to have his brother behind him and not Juan Pablo Montoya.
Yellow flag at turn one. That's Trulli. Oh, Jarno Trulli, where is the reliability he needed with just
If you can hear me, switch off, please. Switch off power.
10 laps to go. Oh, and the Italian...
Thank you, mate.
Just never seems to have things go his way at all. A great shame. He'd driven a superb race this afternoon.
And at the same time as Trulli sadly retires, Juan Pablo Montoya once again sets... Look, there's the smoke. You can see what happened. Massive, massive engine failure for Jarno Trulli. But this puts Montoya up into sixth place, 4.6 seconds behind Jenson Button. And I'm sure that Button, close enough behind Trulli, will have been maybe unsettled, and he may well have lost momentum, giving Montoya the opportunity to take two places in the space of maybe a lap.
Well, we'll keep an eye on that one. The yellow flag still down there at turn one, which is the worst place in a way, because that's one of the main overtaking opportunities. Although you have to say, we're getting a much clearer comparison between the engine power here today, John. Of course, the new Ferrari engine, it is a wider V angle itself, and it's showing to have great power. But, oh, Jarno Trulli, the disappointment of this young man, 27 years old, his 83rd Grand Prix. He's had one second place finish in his career, still to win a race. And today he'd driven well, but he's going to get nothing for it.
And there's a yellow flag up in turn one, so Ralph nowhere near close enough to attempt. But it means that Michael Schumacher also is required to slow down marginally when you go through this area, as so is Ralf Schumacher. No advantage or loss to either driver here.
Back on the power through the quick left-hander, and it doesn't look as though the BMW can out-drag that new Ferrari up the hill, does it? So he's going to have to find some other way of getting past Michael Schumacher. Now, the others still coming around the lap at the moment. We'll wait to see what the gap between the likes of Button and Montoya is, but there's a little time before they come back past us. It was 4.1 seconds last time around.
Yes, Button's last lap after Trulli's blow-up, definitely slower, but interestingly so was Montoya's, because that yellow flag did come out. They had to slow down. Both drivers did slow down. They were the two that probably lost out most, because they were the two drivers that were closest to Trulli's blow-up.
He might need reminding to use the boost limiter. He was into the trumpet limiter the last lap.
And we're hearing on the radio, interesting once again, you know the teams are monitoring, they can monitor exactly what the engine revs are all the time.
Use the boost limiter to get closer to it.
And they're just reminding Ralph to use that boost limiter. And as you said, John, it ups the revs that he can use that little bit more. They have a set rev limit, and take a look here in the super slow-mo live as they come into turn 1.
Just look at the tyre again, watching the tyre deflect.
A little bit wide. Oh, a good shot there of the brakes. Just to do that, by the way. That's when they get really... The coefficient of friction goes up massively with heat with the carbon fibre discs.
But it's definitive on the boost button.
Yes, we've got
just
to
come in
okay.
to my left here, and it is. You can use more revs if you like.
Okay, so it raises the rev limiter. So when you heard him say the boost limiter, what it means is it actually raises the limit on the engine a few hundred revs more, and he's not on the limiter so early. Cutting their way through back markers now. This is turning out to be a fantastic battle. Thrilling cat and mouse game now. 8 laps to go. Ralph has been given the all clear to use the boost button. You can do what you like, Ralph. Go for it, you know. This is your big chance, a big race against your brother for a Grand Prix. It's a legitimate race. They're not in the same team. There's nothing that says that one must give way to the other.
Well, if Michael holds this is going to be a real bonus ball for Ferrari, isn't it? Because, you know, new car, Brazil does seem to be a bit of a bugbear for them. They don't, you know, always feel their cars perform well here. So, if this is the worst they think they're going to do, next race Michael could do even better.
Okay.
For those of you listening at home, that was an attempt at a joke. This is like, you know, the following race, we kind of expect Michael to maybe go even further into the distance. What do you think?
Well, if you want to watch this all the way from the cockpit of the BMW, then you can just flick to button 6, and there you are, sitting in the car with Ralf Schumacher, staring at the back end of one of the world's greatest racing drivers in one of the world's greatest cars, but is at the moment looking a little bit threatened. So we flick to 18, which looked like the pit of Minardi.
Well, Montoya's he's 2.5 seconds behind Jenson now for that 5th place with 7 laps to go, and he's throwing in some fast times. Mind you, though, Jenson's responding. Jenson's just putting his overall best time of the race. 16.7.
That will not go unnoticed. That's
Buttons on button 4. There you go.
Button on button 4. Okay. Meanwhile, slow-mo of a very nasty moment there for Kimi Räikkönen, who can't be too pleased with that. But that's what we saw Michael doing earlier in the race, isn't it, Perry? So you know,
it's just pushing,
exactly,
isn't it? Just pushing hard. But Montoya's going to want to see a little bit more of that, actually, because if we include where he is to Räikkönen, he's only about 7.1 seconds off. Räikkönen's, funny enough, Räikkönen though just putting his fastest middle sector time after doing that.
They've all decided they're going to make a last-ditch attempt to maintain their place or improve their place. Montoya could have done without Jenson. Button decided that now's the time to hang on to his 6th place. He's raised the game and actually did a quicker lap time than Montoya on the previous lap. And so the gap stays the same, 2 seconds between Montoya and Button.
But Button now closing on, but he's just taking him actually. Don't know how much it delayed him, but...
Well, thrilling battle going through the grid all the way now, including all the way from 3rd place down to 6th place for the points. These guys have been fighting every inch of the way. Brilliant pit stops by...
Just saw 3 laps pop up on the screen there. That's the prediction for when Montoya will catch Button.
Yeah, well, I made a prediction on the basis that Button was going to carry on doing the lap times he had previously been doing, which he didn't. He magnificently raised his game and kept that gap at 2 seconds between himself and Montoya. Not about to take it sitting down. Is that Sato? It must be Sato doing, just getting involved in the Titanic battle at the front there for a brief moment. Thankfully, not too memorably. And so it goes on. 5 laps to go. Ralph not able to make a significant difference. He needs to get a lot closer than that. He needs to start being all over the back of his brother going into this corner in the last couple of laps if he's going to be in with a shout of winning this race.
Meanwhile,
out of time here, and Williams, who really felt that this track would suit their car, suit their engine and their tyres, are facing the fact that they're being beaten by Ferrari, and they are not going to be happy about it. Of course, Montoya was a part of the battle on the first lap until it all went wrong and they had that contact. It could have been a different story, perhaps, if Montoya had got ahead at that point, but it didn't happen, and Ralph, despite being fast, just can't quite get close enough to the back of that Ferrari to find a way through.
Well, I think I agree with all you say, Ben, but there's one special factor that has got that Ferrari in the lead, and I don't think there's any other driver in the world right now is capable of doing what Michael Schumacher. He's got tyres that are considered to be not as good on this track on the day as the Michelin. He's got a brand new car, which is probably not quite as powerful as BMW, yet there he is dominating this race and leading it 2 or 4 laps to go.
Here's the battle, though, as we watch Jenson Button come across the line now, running in 5th place, and Juan Pablo Montoya has him very much within his sights at 1.2 seconds, the gap between them. Let's ride on board with Montoya. Watch the gap. See if the car we're riding with can close up that little bit more to the Renault ahead. Heading down towards turn 4. High top speed here, then late on the brakes. Oh, and somebody's off in the gravel over there.
It's Raikkonen,
It's
I believe.
Raikkonen's gone off. And look, there he is, Raikkonen, who was running in 4th position. He's gone off out of the race now. Whether that was
His
a problem...
right rear wheel, there's something wobbling in that right rear wheel. You could see as he went across the gravel, it was going this way, left to right, not going. And they're back in the McLaren pits. Shock. But I think there's something with that right rear wheel. If we get a replay of it, we may be able to see something. It certainly did not appear to be moving in a normal fashion.
Well, we'll keep an eye on that, see if we get a replay, but again, it's disappointment for McLaren. And Kimi is not going to finish this race. That puts, of course, Button up into 4th place now. Button into 4th, Montoya into 5th. Mika Salo comes up into 6th in a point-scoring position. Irvine into 7th as we look at the 2 leaders.
Ralph gets very close in turn 13. This time he is, you can see visually closer. The stopwatch will tell you the same now. Coming across start-finish line, 0.6 of a second the last lap. The problem is he's not close enough to pick up any aerodynamic draft as he goes into turn 1. All he is doing is just getting closer, but not close enough.
It's the closest he's been across the line at 0.4 seconds as he came across the line that time. Now remember, the yellows that you can see at the top of the screen there are out at the next corner, turn 4. That is where Raikkonen went off just a moment ago, and the battle between Montoya and Button, just 1.3 seconds last time around.
And both drivers are required to go through this segment of the circuit slower than their previous laps.
Yes, that's right. So the stewards keeping an eye on that. Just 2 laps to go, less than 2 laps to go now for Michael Schumacher, who's trying to bring home his 4th victory here at Interlagos. And again, look at Ralph trying to get that little bit closer.
You could see the difference. Ferrari, they were struggling. Michael Schumacher really struggling as Pelle comes out with the flag. He's going to wave this race off. Schumacher was struggling. Ralph picked up time, able to hold the car in tighter through the slower corners. And the high-speed corners, not so much difference.
Well, Ralph is definitely running out of time now, because they will just have 1 lap to do as he comes across the line this time. Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari, the new car, the car that he pushed so hard that Ferrari should bring here to Brazil. They didn't want to initially, they were going to run the 2001 car. Michael pushed, they've brought it, and he's shown them what he can do with it. This has been a brilliant drive from Michael Schumacher.
And Ralf Schumacher, just to prove that he's not out of this race, even on the last lap, was fastest through that 3rd sector. That's the most important part of this lap. If he's going to get a pass to this Ferrari, the only part of the track that he can do it on merit will be there.
Oh,
Jacques
Villeneuve pulling off the track. He was running in 8th place, and it's all over for Jacques. So close to seeing the checkered flag. That's a great disappointment. Into the lowering sun now, the vision getting a little harder on that infield section, but Michael just has to get it through here safely to record another victory, the 2nd time he will have won for Ferrari, his 4th victory in all, including the 2 wins he drove for Benetton here in Brazil in the mid-90s. and he has shown everybody how to win a motor race today, committed throughout the entire 71 laps.
Pedro de la Rosa just ahead of these two, but it will not come into play as they come through turn 13 for the final time on a racing lap. But there is not sufficient. Ralf Schumacher, there is no way he can do it.
Michael Schumacher is going to win the third round of the Formula One World Championship here at Interlagos in Brazil. The checkered flag waved by Pele from one great sportsman to another. Michael Schumacher takes the victory from Ralf. But let me tell you, the battle on the track still going on between Jenson Button and Juan Pablo Montoya, so we must watch that. This is their last lap still, but the two brothers, Michael Schumacher taking the victory just ahead of his younger brother Ralf, showing him how to do it. And Ralph's turn may come another day.
An absolutely outstanding, a brilliant victory for Ferrari, for Michael Schumacher. And look, Jean Todt, he is delighted. We're still waiting for this battle for fourth place to conclude. Button and Montoya right in the middle of the slowest part of the circuit. If we look back to David Coulthard, who's in third place, and he is now assured of his first podium of the year.
His first points of the year,
Michael,
his first finish.
Oh, that was a brilliant drive, Michael. Well done. Well done.
And we actually listening to Ross Brawn there.
Wow, that was a hard piece of work, but really fantastic. Really fantastic. I mean, such an effort for you guys to bring this new car here. I really was worth it. Tell me what happened to Rubens, this poor guy.
We had, I don't want to say on the TV, we had a technical problem. It was unfortunate. He would have been competitive today. But, yeah, we had a technical problem.
Well, there we go. That is, we're so privileged to listen to that conversation. Ross Brawn and Michael Schumacher, and you could hear the delight in Michael's voice there. Just to confirm, Button managed to beat Montoya across the line by 0.6 seconds. So Coulthard third, Button fourth, Montoya fifth, and Mika Salo again getting the Toyota into the points in sixth. Irvine and De La Rosa seventh and eighth ahead of Sato. Villeneuve classified as 10th, with Mark Webber finishing in 11th.
Well, an outstanding, I mean, just a fantastic drive from Michael Schumacher. I think Ross Brawn's congratulations. Ross does not normally go over the top when he congratulates drivers, but he knows this is a drive of the highest quality you will see at any time in the history of Formula One, under pressure pretty much all the way from his own brother. Ralf Schumacher pushed, I believe had the quicker car on the day. But this man, what would have happened to that collision into turn 4 in the first lap? Michael blocked blatantly, then went back to the middle of the road, but Montoya misjudged the braking, clipped the back of the Ferrari. Amazingly, no damage to the Ferrari whatsoever.
Well, an astonishing performance today from Michael Schumacher, and again, his finishing record here in Brazil continues. He's finished every race he's run here since 1992 on the podium, except for 1 year, 1997, and again the delight for Toyota. Huge congratulations, another point for Toyota in the Constructors' battle, another point for Mika Salo in the Drivers' Championship.
Indeed, a superb job from the Cologne-based team, but also a word of encouragement for Jaguar, because Eddie Irvine was not that far behind, 4.7 seconds of Mika Salo. Pedro de la Rosa further back in 8th place, and maybe for the fans of Jaguar, they've turned the corner.
The points, look at Michael Schumacher's advantage now over his brother Ralf, and Montoya finds himself down in third, a full 10 points behind the championship leader. Jenson Button into 4th place in the series ahead of Raikkonen and David Coulthard, who at last gets his name onto the points board. Eddie Irvine with the 3 points scored in Australia, likewise for Mark Webber. Heidfeld, Malaysia, he scored his 2 points, but Mika Salo with 2 6th places also on 2 points. Those are the scorers, and that's the winner here in Brazil.
And not just a winner here in Brazil, he has been a winner all his life. And their brotherly love, I mean, that was a great battle between the two brothers. But I think on the day it was pretty clear to the world that there's one Schumacher who is a world champion, a multiple world champion, and another Schumacher who could be. But, you know, even with a car which probably on the day was marginally more competitive, it was Michael. He's just, I mean, what you can't come out, there's not enough superlatives to say how brilliant this man is.
Yeah, he was able to push all the time throughout the race. That's what won him the race. It's a combination of so many things with Michael, isn't it, John? It's fitness on one stage. He's one of the fittest drivers out there. Look at this relationship. This is what it's all about. Ross Brawn and Michael Schumacher, the two we heard talking on the radio a moment ago, and that's the strength of their relationship, and that's what's brought so much success to both of them.
I mean, I think that was a fantastic Grand Prix. I mean, to see two brothers, I mean, two competitors, let alone two brothers, battling like that, I mean, on the limit, really making very, very few errors. I saw one or two from Michael, but that just indicated that he was driving more than his maximum, probably even more than the Bridgestone tyre and the Ferrari chassis were capable of, yet he still wins the Grand Prix by half a second.
The only question mark, I guess, over that first lap with Michael and Montoya. That one will be analysed, of course, and everyone will have a view on it. Michael shutting the door on Montoya, and they took the front wing off his car. But they're the final results after 71 laps, and the gap just half a second between them.
But Ben, we talked about, and it has been talked about, this new ruling. If a driver makes a move which is not satisfactory to the stewards, he could be penalised for the next Grand Prix. We know that they can do something immediately if it is severe enough. If it is as marginal as that one was, they have got the right to bring in Michael Schumacher and Juan Pablo Montoya, look at the tapes again, speak to both the drivers, and if they decide that there was somewhat of an unfair second move from Michael, they could, in theory, penalise him 10 places for the next Grand Prix.
Well, that certainly would make life interesting if that happens, and they do have that opportunity to review the evidence, as you say. I'm sure Montoya not very happy at all after that incident. It certainly looked as though Montoya gave Michael a bit of room off the grid, and I think that he will feel that Michael gave him absolutely no room at all as they headed down towards turn 4, that he already had a run going and that Michael shut the door on him. But that discussion can continue for the moment. You have to say, after that, Michael drove superbly to take the victory here, his 4th win in Brazil, and time for the German national anthem to ring out. Now, the Italian national anthem for Ferrari. National anthems played out and the Union flag being hoisted to half-mast as a mark of respect following the passing away of Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, yesterday afternoon. The top 3 on the podium, and Michael Schumacher taking the 10 points and the trophy here at Interlagos. His brother alongside him, and David Coulthard coming home in 3rd position. Great to see that he's finally got some points.
Yes, it's been a very, very difficult start to the season for David, but finally he's on the podium, 4 points. And the championship hopes that he said were dashed after Malaysia, well, he's still a long way to go, but you know, there are still many more races, 14 more in this year's 17 race championship.
Trophy to second place man Ralf Schumacher. Well, he tried, he fought, he put in some very quick laps towards the end of the race. He got within 0.4 of a second but he never, ever looked likely to get alongside that Ferrari. But David Coulthard drove hard all afternoon, stuck behind Jarno Trulli in the Renault for so long, fought past on the pit stops. Great work from the team as well. He'll be delighted with what they did in the pits. He did the job on the track, and he's earned that third place. Bad news for Trulli, of course, but Jenson Button coming home in 4th position, and Juan Pablo Montoya in 5th.
Ross, just stand there and enjoy it. You're a bit of a wine buff, so enjoy the champagne, the mum champagne, as Michael and Ross really enjoy the relationship between these two people. You know, it's just unbelievable. You rarely see partnerships in any sport or business quite like this one.
Well, we heard on the radio, John, when he was talking to Ross Brawn on that slowing down lap, he said he appreciated the amount of work the team had done. He knew how hard they'd had to work to get that 2002 car. He pushed for it to be here, and it's all been worthwhile.
And we saw just a quick glimpse of Jean Todt on a mobile telephone. One suspected he might be ringing up Luca de Montezemolo, the president of the Ferrari company, just to confirm what Luca will have seen on TV, and no doubt saying, you know, now we've done one race, one victory, we need that second car big time for Barcelona. For Imola.
For Imola, yes, that's right. Next time out. And David Coulthard doing a little samba shimmy up on the podium there. It's great to see a smile on his face at last. It's been such an awful start to the season for him, and at last a little relief, a little happiness for David, and perhaps he can now build on this as the teams come back to Europe for the real heart of the Grand Prix season, starting out at Imola in 2 weeks' time.
And indeed another racetrack which you've said throughout this weekend's broadcast which will favour BMW, Mercedes, or BMW particularly, Michelin tyres and the Williams chassis. I hope they've managed to catch that Jeroboam of Champagne that might have cracked on the ground.
I think they did catch it. It was a pretty good catch, actually. Impressive stuff with a heavy bottle like that. But Michael just taking a few more moments to celebrate this victory with Ferrari. What a record he has here. And as we said, over the last 10 years, the winner of this race has normally gone on to win the championship. That's bad news for Williams. The last year it didn't happen, though. When David Coulthard won the race, Michael went on to win the championship, and it didn't happen back in 1993. And Williams will be hoping that they continue that particular trend. The characteristic jump onto the top step.
Yeah, Ben, that was a really tough physical race for both Schumachers, but Michael in particular, I feel. And he still has the energy, the vitality. Okay, he's got still pure adrenaline coursing through his veins, but nevertheless, the way he's able to spring and jump, I mean, it's a real joy to watch something. We're really probably watching history being made. Michael Schumacher, the only man with the potential to go on and equal the 5 world championships of the great Argentinian Juan Manuel Fangio, probably going to go on and continue winning race after race. I mean, how long can he go on? It's depressing. I think David Coulthard said, you know, please, Michael, go away and retire. Give us all a chance to get a bite of a world championship.
Well, today was just a pure example of how hard he can push throughout a race distance, and that's how he managed to win the race. As we have a quick look down into the pit garage, and the drivers are now making their way through to the press conference room. In fact, they've already made it there, so let's go over to the press conference and hear from them.
Congratulations, gentlemen. A fabulous Brazilian Grand Prix kept us on the edge of our seats right to the final lap. Victory to Michael Schumacher, Ralf Schumacher, 2nd place, and David Coulthard in 3rd place. Michael, the excitement started right on the run to the first corner between yourself and Juan Pablo Montoya. Can you talk us through what happened at the first corner, the second one, and the third? And did you suffer any damage from being hit by Juan Pablo going into turn 3?
First of all, no, obviously. I mean, my car was pretty much perfect until the end. We didn't suffer any little problem. It was an exciting first 2 corner, where I have to say Juan Pablo behaved really well. I mean, in order, I was thinking I could outbrake him in the first corner, but he was braking so late that it was clear that he would almost miss the corner. So I prepared then for turn 2, which then worked actually, and he just left enough space for both of us to go through the corner. And then I don't actually know what happened into turn 4. I moved over to the left to give him the outside, and I didn't feel anything. I just suddenly saw him dropping back. So may you explain me what happened?
Now, towards the end of the race, you had your brother Ralf catching up with you. How hard did you have to fight? It really looked as though you were having to slide around quite a bit just to stay on the circuit.
No, it wasn't that bad, honestly. it was sort of after the pit stop when he was behind me. I knew it is only one possibility to overtake here, which is into turn 1. So I made sure that into the last corner everything was right, and there it looked obviously a little bit tricky because I was pushing hard into that corner. Into the rest I wasn't overdoing it because it is very easy, especially in the infield to make a little mistake on the braking. So it was just trying to roll the car more than fight compared to the first stint. Which still means that I had to push, obviously, to keep him behind me. But I knew I couldn't go away from him, so there wasn't any need to try to drive away from him, just protect myself for non-overtaking, and that worked out.
Well, Michael, congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ralph, you had a fabulous battle last year in Canada with Michael. This one seemed to be even more intense. And though you came out second this time, did you enjoy it more or less?
Certainly I enjoyed it less because I'm second. But first stint wasn't too good. I wasn't too happy with the balance of the car, so we changed something on the pit stop, which made it a lot better, so I was able to catch Michael up. Even though I was maybe slightly quicker than he was, I was not able to come close enough to overtake him down the straight. So it was an exciting race. Do it next time.
Now, at the end of the race, what was the state of your tyres? Because I thought Michael looked like he was sliding a bit. He's told us that he was in control. Did you ever think there might be a chink that you could go through past Michael?
Yeah, well, that's why I kept behind him. I mean, even Michael sometimes, brakes a bit late, or, especially here, it's very easy to come offline and to lose a lot. So that's what I was waiting for. But he didn't do me that favour this time. He just simply, was better today.
Thank you very much, Ralph. David, good to see you here. Not only a finish to the race, but a podium finish.
Yeah, that's right. It's been a while since I've been here, because I haven't been here in any of the qualifying sessions this year either. And yeah, it's great feeling to be back on the podium. Quite a hard race, obviously, because the Renaults got past me at the start. And with Jensen, he made a mistake coming out the last corner, so I was able to slipstream him. But Jarno was a lot more difficult, and it was just a question of being patient for the pit stops.
You were pushing very hard right the way to the end, and in fact, in the closing laps, your lap speeds were pretty much the same as the two guys to your right. Does that mean McLaren is really starting to make progress now?
Well, I think that our race pace is relatively closer than our qualifying pace, but that's the sort of classic situation when your whole package isn't quite as strong. You tend to see the true colours of a car in qualifying, and it tends not to be such a big difference in the race. So I felt that we were going to be a little bit closer, but I don't think we're quite there yet. We've got a bit of work to do.
David, thank you. Back to you, Michael. Everyone said before this weekend that Interlagos would be a circuit where we'd see a Michelin victory. You turn up on your Bridgestones, you not only win the race, but you do it in the brand new Ferrari 2002. What chance Imola? Are you going to do the same again?
As you have seen, it has been a very tight race. We did it, certainly. Imola is another one where it's going to be a difficult one, I believe, from the experience we had last year, although we have improved. It wasn't a sort of luck that we won that race. It was worked hard for, because we had the new car here, because we had new Bridgestone tyres here, and altogether the package made us winning this race today. So I believe it doesn't look too bad then for Imola to look from what we saw last year. Nevertheless, we look forward to come to Imola, our home Grand Prix, and hopefully do something good there.
Thank you, Michael. Now, if Michael and Ralph would like to speak in their own languages, starting again with you.
Well, as ever, Michael sort of playing it down a little bit, and even getting a smile from his brother Ralph, I noticed there, when he was sort of playing down how hard he was pushing a little bit in the latter part. Even Ralph was smiling at him.
Yeah, that's for sure. Michael was pushing. He was on the limit, and he'd worked out, obviously, and the team had worked.
They respect each other, and I think that you're not going to see any kind of nonsense between those two. What I thought was quite funny was when Michael said, my car was fine and it wasn't sliding around, and Ralph laughed because he clearly was right behind Michael. He knows very well that Michael was trying as hard as he could, and he said it on the radio when he finished the race. That was a hard race. I think that Michael plays down any kind of weakness, and he built up any strength. He's made the point. He's coming with a brand new car, brand new Bridgestone tyres. Don't think you're going to walk all over us.
And David, he was third. Obviously, he'd like to have been slightly higher up the podium, but he's got to be happy with that after the starts of the season so far.
It's a nice result, but when you're finishing over 50 seconds behind the leading pair, then you're kind of thinking, oh dear, sure, they pin the blame on Renault having the audacity to be in front of them for a while, maybe holding them up a bit, but you know, third is the best that they could